Chapter 428, 21st Cycle's First Day. The familiar river of time. The familiar seats. Familiar scenes flash before my eyes. And in the next moment, Payet, I return. What? Kagagugu. The nether crossing ship crumbles, and at the moment I just grab the heavenly lotus fruit. In other words, what is this? To the very moment just before, I feel my pupils shaking violently. The point of return has been fixed once again. Kagagugu. Up ahead, Kang Min-hee, having completely swallowed the nether crossing ship, is leaping towards me again. Why just why? My head feels like it's going to explode from the absurdity and strangeness of the situation. Just why has the return point been fixed now? It's so strange and incomprehensible. What exactly are the conditions for this fixation? Can it be that the condition isn't simply ascending from the head realm? More importantly, there's never been a fixation in the interdimensional void until now. Whether it was the flying immortal platform in the vast cold realm or within the vestiges, fixation had always occurred within entities that could be called worlds. However, this time's return fixation was so sudden and bewildering. But this time, the fixation feels so abrupt and bewildering. What's this? For a moment, I feel a disgusting sensation, as if something is thoroughly scanning my body. But when I look around, all I see is Kang Min-hee and the last remaining nether crossing ship moving off in the distance. Amidst confusion and bewilderment, I steady my nauseous stomach and focus my mind. There's a lot to think about, but this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I grab the all-heavens sword. The faint clouds of accumulating dust forms a mountain rise from the sword. I focus all my consciousness on the sword and unleash the single strike gained from rising to a new realm. The faint clouds shine. The clouds softly, yet powerfully push Kang Min-hee away. Coatreal pulls her from the other side, and as I push, her body begins to gradually cross over towards the astral realm. As expected of Daoseo, I had faith in you. Coatreal smiles faintly from the other side, praising me. And I too smile back at him, raising the heavenly lotus fruit in my hand. In my previous life, I didn't notice the malice hidden inside the spirit fruit, but this time it's different. I won't provoke the fragment of blood yin within it. Wu-wung. The heavenly lotus fruit flies toward Kang Min-hee, naturally embedding itself into her bosom. Daoseo. If you try anything in the astral realm against Kang Min-hee, the fragment of their split soul within the heavenly lotus fruit will erode you. Kang Min-hee is now being separated from us and is reaching the astral realm, filled with Coatreals. Who knows what Coatreal might do to her once she's there? That's why I planted the fragment of blood yin that Coatreal finds so uncomfortable within her bosom. I have no worries about Kang Min-hee being consumed by the blood yin fragment. The chief judge of the netherworld, who appeared within Kang Min-hee during the last cycle. As long as that entity is connected to Kang Min-hee, the fragment of blood yin will remain dormant, without causing any trouble in her possession. I can sense Coatreal silently watching me beyond the voice transmission, without saying a word in response to my statement. It was Coatreal who nonchalantly joined hands with me, and led me to eat the heavenly lotus fruit, imbued with the fragment of blood yin. If I hadn't achieved enlightenment and driven out the heart demon, if I hadn't expelled blood yin's split soul, I might not have regressed, but rather have become a mere puppet of blood yin. Clearly, I was backstabbed, but I don't feel entirely bad about it. Because of that situation, I gained enlightenment. But more importantly, by expelling the fragment of blood yin, I became able to speculate about the relationship between blood yin and Coatreal. Blood yin perceives Coatreal to be on the same side. However, it seems that Coatreal finds blood yin extremely uncomfortable, and perhaps even somewhat fearful. Isn't that right, Coatreal, the something born from blood yin? I realized that Coatreal is one of the branches extended from blood yin. Thanks to my contact with blood yin's fragments, some knowledge flowed into me, and I could finally understand the mural I saw back on Cherry Blossom Dragon Island. Blood yin used purple soul filling the heavens to give birth to Hyun Eum, and Hyun Eum's purple soul filling the heavens gave birth to Ya Eum, and through Ya Eum, the endlessly spread out sea dragon race was born. Thus, the sea dragon race are essentially branches that extend from the tree that is blood yin, branches of blood yin. And among those branches of blood yin, something twisted, and the very being born from that is Coatreal. Much like the relationship between me and Co Li, it's fair to say he's a clone that came to have self-consciousness. Since a clone can very easily be reabsorbed by the main body if it wishes, it makes sense that Coatreal finds blood yin, and the blood yin realm so uncomfortable, and even fears being reabsorbed against his will. Coatreal stands silently on the side of the astral realm, staring directly at me in response to my words. He no longer lets out his unpleasant ho-ho, laugh like before. Beyond the scene of the astral realm, Coatreal, who has become a star, and all the inhabitants of that star stare up at me with expressionless faces, a sight that's rather a chilling sight. However, I don't feel bad at all. Can you even offer an excuse for what you intended by planting the fragment of blood yin inside me? At my words, all the Coatreals reach out their hands toward me in silence. Blink. From the hands of the Coatreals, a single eyeball appears. The bastard is clearly trying to brainwash me. You said you wouldn't betray me until the alliance is broken. Every word that comes out of your mouth is a lie. Coatreal replies to my accusation. This time it wasn't a lie, it was a vow sworn on my very essence. Then, if we were never on the same side in the first place, how could it be called betrayal, Taoist Co? Haha, those Coatreal. I raised the all-heaven sword. Having pushed away Kang Minhee, the recoil propels me towards where my comrades have gone. I am flying back to the interior of the bright cold realm, falling into the Heart Tribe territory. Having just risen to a new realm, I can currently use about 3-second step before the throne moves. But since I used accumulating dust forms a mountain once to push Kang Minhee away, I have only 2 left. 2 is sufficient. No, sufficient isn't quite right. Zhuang. It's excessive. In the astral realm, Coatreal joins forces with Ohio and seizes control of the power of the stars. The bastard's attraction force that pulled Kang Minhee completely into the astral realm is now binding me as well. At the same time, the eyes and the hands of those reaching out to me burn bright red. I imbue my heart into my sword. What is the ultimate meaning of swordsmanship? Ask any martial artist from the head realm, Kim Young-hoon, or even cultivators like Hong Suryong who have mastered sword divine powers, and their answer will be the same. The Tao of the Heart Sword, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter. The realm where one moves the sword of the heart. Because that is the ultimate realm every sword practitioner dreams of. When it comes to imagining the highest realm, there is no distinction between martial artists and cultivators. Sword practitioners devote their entire lives to reaching that realm through the sword. I obtained the formless sword after rising from entering heavens beyond the path, taking a step closer to the heart sword, and obtaining the all-heavens sword brought me even closer. Yet even after reaching seated detachment, entering hope, the Tao of the heart sword seemed endlessly distant. But the moment I rose to this realm called second step before the throne, I finally realized. The heart sword is truly right before my eyes. The peak of the seemingly endless towering mountain begins to reveal itself. Sword practitioners who pursue the heart sword must each find their own answer to reach it. And my answer is this. What is the heart sword? The heart sword is a sword that cuts with only the heart. How can there be such a thing in this world that can cut with only the heart? The answer is simple. To cut a heart, all you need is the heart itself. The will to cut, whispered to me by the formless sword and the all-heaven sword, becomes one with me completely. I pierce through Coatreal from the plane of soul with the will to cut. Chwak. Beyond the scenery of the astral realm. One of the countless Coatreal's eyes returns to normal. His tainted soul filling the heavens was cut. But that isn't the end. Chwak. Starting with the first Coatreal who was cut, like how his tainted soul filling the heavens spreads contagiously, the heart sword begins to infect him. The single strike of seated detachment, entering hope, is a form of heart language that conveys one's own heart to the opponent. Condensing one's own heart to influence the opponent is the very essence of the seated detachment, entering hope single strike. Once one becomes accustomed to delivering their heart to the opponent, they can unleash single strike after single strike of this realm. Then what kind of attack can one unleash from the realm beyond, where the heart can fire endlessly? Try to escape Coatreal. People exchange hearts and change at every moment. Therefore, the me from 1 second ago is inevitably different from the me a second later. You won't escape so easily. The heart sword I've displayed is based on the concept that when people meet, they change, engraving my heart sword into the opponent's heart. With the sword energy, the opponent's heart is endlessly cut. There's only one way to escape from this heart sword. By calming the change created by meeting me, only then can one escape from the heart sword. To put it simply in one sentence, from the moment you're struck by this heart sword, the structure is such that if you even think of me, your heart will be cut by sword energy. To escape from the heart sword, you must completely forget me, the one who shot the heart sword, and maintain a pure, empty heart. Of course, the difficulty of that is akin to being told, don't think of an elephant, and immediately not thinking of one. Even the heart tribe, who dedicate their entire lives to training the heart, would find this far from easy. This is my answer for reaching the true Tao of the heart sword. The peak of the heart grows more rugged the more one thinks of it. Severing mountain swordsmanship, 30-second move. Subheart sword, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter. This is transcending mountain ridge embedment, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter. They say when you gaze into the abyss gazes back at you. The heart sword I created, while thinking of Cohreal, is eerily similar to his tainted soul filling the heavens. Kagagugu. Cohreal's tainted soul filling the heavens, numbering in the hundreds of millions, begins to be slashed apart all at once. His brainwashing wave is certainly dangerous. Dangerous enough to even brainwash me. But what if I cut down that very will before he can even release those waves? The sword of my heart that I send forth cuts through the Cohreals who think of me. Like the shocks you the moment you recognize it, gaze or name of a true immortal. Akin to such entities, the more Cohreal thinks of me, the deeper my heart sword pierces into his tainted soul filling the heavens. Gradually, the scenery of the astral realm fades. With a final glimpse of Kang Min-hee, who has fallen into the astral realm, and Cohreal writhing in agony from the heart sword, I smile as I fall into the dimensional veil of the bright cold realm. Thunk. I sense that Cohreal, through some means, has escaped my sub-heart sword. But I do not worry, because undoubtedly, the form of the sub-heart sword's transcending mountain ridge embedment is a fatal blow he will never recover from. Next time, pray you don't meet me, Cohreal. Using the sub-heart sword and purple soul filling the heavens, I now have confidence that I can uncover Cohreal's main body. Chwack. Following the traces of the nether crossing ship that my comrades have passed, I enter the dimensional barrier of the bright cold realm, and as I fall towards the heart tribe territory below, I let out a hollow smile. The sudden fixation of this moment in time. Though I still don't fully understand the incomprehensible laws of regression, deep inside, I feel immense gratitude, because I have drawn even closer to those I wish to protect. Next time, I will be able to save Kang Min-hee. There's nothing standing in my way now. In the span of 300 years, I will undoubtedly reach the star-shattering stage and save her no matter what. Cough. Blood mixes with my cough. Perhaps it's because I unleashed a fairly excessive single strike shortly after reaching this realm, but my entire body starts to lose strength. Yet even though I can't move a single finger, a faint smile spreads across my face. I've finally reached it. I've finally reached the realm that Jang Ik calls the second step before the throne. The entering heavens beyond the path martial arts, created by Kim Young-hoon, is a formula that sings of hope. It's a formula that proves life is joy and expresses the joy of training in martial arts. Feeling the deepest sense of overwhelming joy among all the emotions I've felt throughout my endless years of training martial arts, and resonating with the formula of entering heavens beyond the path martial arts more than ever. I fall towards the heart tribe territory. Translator notes, I should have translated it as seated detachment, entering hope since a while back, but I completely forgot about it. P. Thump, 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 thump. The beating of a heart is audible. Blink. I blink. For some reason, I feel a soft sensation from the back of my head. Ah, you're awake. I can't help but flinch for a moment. Swoosh. It's Buck Hyung HWA. She's giving me a lap pillow while working on something. Upon closer inspection, it looks like she's drawing a blueprint for some magic artifacts. Where is this? What's the situation? I try to spread my consciousness but quickly realize that my soul is still strained, so I ask her instead. I use too much mental energy cutting down tainted soul, filling the heavens. They say if you stare into the abyss stares back at you, or that those who slay monsters slowly become monsters themselves. These words hold true. The very nature of transcending mountain ridge embedment is influenced by tainted soul filling the heavens, and even though it's meant to deal with it, it seems that's precisely why I had to exert so much mental energy. Coatrial's murky, dark, and hollow heart is too similar to my own heart essence. Because of that, I had to expend significant mental strength to avoid falling to heart demons while cutting down tainted soul, filling the heavens. Throb. I clutch my head as I get up, and Buck Hyung-HWA supports me while explaining the situation. We're currently in a guest room within the Heart Tribe territory, specifically in the Cedar Wood Grove, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter. Cedar Wood Grove, it seems we arrived safely. What's the current situation? The Heart Tribe's Supreme Council nearly started a war after the human race teleported here. But for now, Sir Young Hoon and Yon Un-Nai, who possess Heart Tribe qualities, are mediating, especially since there are talks going around that the cult leader is an outstanding member of the Heart Tribe. The Supreme Council said they would meet the cult leader first before determining the fate of the human race. My shoulders are heavy. I smile bitterly and speak to Buck Hyung-HWA. That aside, let's stop with the title of cult leader. How can there be a cult leader without a cult? Then, just something casual. I'm about to tell her to call me something casual, but I suddenly realize that in this life, my relationship with Buck Hyung-HWA has always been that of the cult leader and conqueror king. And as that thought crosses my mind, I realize a truth I have been trying to ignore since meeting Buck Hyung-HWA. From the start, ours is a relationship that can never be casual. I gaze at Buck Hyung-HWA with slight discomfort. She is a complicated figure for me. She is the same person as the Buck Hyung-HWA from my 10th life, yet at the same time, she is not. Being with her means constantly seeing the shadow of her 10th cycle self standing behind her. The past and present versions of her are different individuals, but as a person, I can't see her as a completely different being. Because of that, I can't treat her purely as this life's Buck Hyung-HWA. That's why I've avoided creating opportunities to face her directly. But somehow we ended up in a moment like this, facing each other alone. Opening and closing my mouth, I finally settle on a proper title. Taoist, just call me Taoist CEO. No, since I am no longer a cult leader, please do so. I consider my current position and decide to address her respectfully, as I used to. However, she responds somewhat awkwardly. You can just speak comfortably. After all, you are an elder and my senior. The mention of elder makes me feel somewhat sad, but I shake my head and reply. Before, our relationship within the organization dictated a certain formality, but now that we walk the same path of immortal cultivation, it's only right that I show respect. And if that's what you wish, I understand, Taoist CEO. She tilts her head slightly, looking a bit awkward as she calls me Taoist. For a moment, silence hangs between us. Do you have something to say, miss? Reading the subtle emotions on her face, I ask her. At my question, she hesitates for a moment before speaking. I have one thing I'm curious about, Taoist, CEO. She shows me the blueprint she's been drawing beside me. This is. Looking closely, it's not exactly a magic artifact blueprint, but rather a kind of system, similar to the Mad Lord circuits. However, while it seems influenced by the Mad Lord, it clearly appears to be something entirely unique. A remarkable artifact system. What type of artifact system is this for? This is a system for analyzing chi and projecting scenes. Oh, like a vid. A few hundred years ago, Taoist CEO gave me this. She gently strokes the jade norigi hanging from her waist. Ever since the day Taoist CEO gave this to me, I've been studying it, and I've discovered that this norigi is always connected to somewhere. And when I focus my consciousness, I can shift my consciousness to somewhere filled with thick, hazy mist through this norigi. Recently, after meeting Taoist CEO, I realized that the place of hazy mist is within your canvas of myriad forms and connections. Buck Hyung-HWA looks directly into my eyes as she speaks. Until now, Taoist CEO has never properly answered why that is. That's why I've been researching it all this time. After meeting Senior Mad Lord, I was able to grasp a significant clue. a technique that disassembles chi and traces a target's past. With this, I plan to trace the causality between Taoist Seo's canvas of myriad forms and connections and my Norigi. I quickly realize what she plans to do, just like what Oh Hai Seo did, or what the Black Dragon Immortal Beast did. She plans to trace my past and uncover the truth behind the Norigi. But as seen in the cases of both the Black Dragon Immortal Beast and Oh Hai Seo, the secret of the canvas of myriad forms and connections is not something that can be easily unraveled. Both of them have the authority to trace the past, yet they still failed. In other words, unless Buk Hyang-Hwa's abilities surpass those of the Black Dragon Immortal Beast, I don't have to worry about her discovering my secret. However, since I understand why she's saying this to me directly, I can't carelessly dismiss her actions as being useless. If it's the eyes of Taoist Seo, you probably know why I'm telling you this right now, since you possess the same eyes as Sir Young-hoon. Behind her subtle heart essence lies overwhelming despair and sorrow, and a deep determination. Please don't ask me for the reason, but I will say this. Uncovering the truth about the Norigi is one of my deepest wishes, so I won't give up easily. In other words, she is implying that if I don't want her to challenge and uncover the past between me and the Norigi, I'd better tell her the truth. But I can't. In this world, I've come to painfully realize that speaking something aloud holds tremendous impact. So I respond vaguely. This is related to true immortals, so I can't speak of it lightly. If mishandled, Mrs. Life could be at risk. It's fine. She looks at me as if life and death doesn't matter at all. It doesn't matter, so if there's anything you can tell me, please do. It's something I cannot speak of, please understand. I understand. She nods, seemingly bitter. I guess I'll just have to do what I can, to the best of my ability. Miss Buck. Then please excuse me. I will take my leave. Please rest and join us when Taoist Seo is ready. With those words, Buk Hyang-Hwa turns and swiftly exits the guest room. Seeing her hard essence, I feel conflicted. Wung. I gradually feel my consciousness domain and authority returning, transcending space to the outside of the guest room. I head towards the place where chi and intent are clashing. They are centered around Kim Young-hoon. 22 shadows are colliding their intents. Chuererik. The martial scene they're painting momentarily shakes my foresight. Each one of them can be considered masters who have reached the ultimate of martial arts. They are confronting Kim Young-hoon, who is specialized in speed, using their own secret techniques, and they bombard him with moves that keep up without falling behind. On the surface, it looks as if the projections of the Heart Tribe's Supreme Council are just standing still around Kim Young-hoon, but with my vision, having reached the plane of soul, I can see the massive currents of intent raging. Normally, their will alone should have stirred up an overwhelming storm in reality, but everyone here is restraining themselves to the point where not even a speck of energy leaks out. They are competing purely in skill, so the battle of intent occurring at the plane of soul is not affecting the physical world at all. Yona. Yes. Kim Yon quietly appears beside me the moment I speak, and I raise an eyebrow. Centered around the demon core within her body, I see that her intent has perfectly balanced into 9 strands. If this were before, I would have missed that movement. It isn't a matter of martial skill or realm. Martial artists accelerate their minds through techniques like ultimate pinnacle, but cultivators beyond the nascent soul stage can simply accelerate their minds through their vast consciousness. They don't even need to divide their consciousness into forms like a gang sphere clone and then merge them again. By just compressing their consciousness, their mind gradually accelerates. This is how cultivators at the nascent soul stage and beyond use techniques like the flying escape technique to fight at high speeds in battle. The hidden consciousness technique, given to me by Mad Lord, similarly compresses my consciousness to accelerate my senses, allowing me to feel spiritual energy through the spiritual root. So, compressing consciousness itself is a way to accelerate the mind. Currently, with her demon core as the center, Kim Yon is aligning her consciousness, like the demon race, and compressing it, adding a tenfold acceleration to her already compressed consciousness. Before even considering the level of her cultivation, albeit through a somewhat abnormal growth, she now possesses speed surpassing the integration stage. If she's already this fast with ultimate pinnacle, which allows consciousness to simply become speed. If she reaches entering heavens beyond the path, where consciousness can be directly converted into power. What kind of authority will Kim Yon wield? Suddenly, I become curious. Of course, entering heavens beyond the path isn't something that can be solved just by pouring in time, so it's hard to say how long it will take. I set away my thoughts about the distant, uncertain future and speak to her. Do you know how long I've been unconscious? It's been exactly 3 days. It's also been a while since we came to the Heart Tribe territory to avoid Minhe Unnai, and the human race has been in a psychological warfare with the Heart Tribe's Supreme Council to find a place to settle while waiting for you to wake up. TL/N. Kim Yon uses, which means you, but it has the nuanced meaning of dear between spouses, being polite or formal, or being disrespectful or confrontational. Something has changed. I glance at Kim Yon with a sense of strangeness. The way she addresses me has subtly changed. It isn't the Yunhyan Oppa she comfortably used before. It feels like she's keeping a distance, yet at the same time, it seems she's even closer to me. Kim Yon continues explaining. Because of Minhe Unnai, the original human race territory has become a land of ghosts where no living being can survive, just like the Nether Ghost Realm. Other territories near the human race lands that were suitable for human habitation have ended up the same way. As a result, the Nether Ghost Realm is also preparing to invade the Bright Cold Realm. They say it will take about 1,000 years to restore the land to its original state. However, according to the judgment of the Grand Cultivator Association, the rampaging Minhe Unnai, in other words the ghost guiding Holy Mother, will inevitably return to the Bright Cold Realm within a few hundred years due to the attraction force between her and the realm. It means that in the end, we've completely lost our original foundation. And a beast that has lost its den will eventually find a new one. It seems the human race wants the Heart Tribe territory as their new home. Yes, the Heart Tribe territory is in the Chaos Realm, so even if Minhe Unnai returns, it won't be easy for her to find it. Moreover, it's one of the stable lands within the Chaos Realm, so they believe it's a safe place to live. That's why the Grand Cultivator Association is proposing to expel all of the Heart Tribe from the Heart Tribe territory and take over. Foolish. I click my tongue. It's a land that Jang Ik stabilized in the first place, so what do they plan to do when Jang Ik returns? Jang Ik himself is supposed to return in a few hundred years. As I click my tongue, Kim Yon continues her explanation. But the entire Grand Cultivator Association was brutally defeated by the Heart Tribe Supreme Council, and Young Hoon's Sunbi alone is dealing with the aftermath to prevent the entire human race from being annihilated. They recklessly stretched out their legs without even properly checking where they were going to lie down. They've underestimated the Heart Tribe far too much. The 22 members of the Supreme Council. They must be Jang Ik's 22 disciples. I can sense it. Each one of them is a supreme expert of seated detachment, entering hope. In other words, there are 22 people who can unleash a single strike at the grand perfection integration level during emergencies. Moreover, among them must be some at a higher level who can unleash consecutive grand perfection integration level single strikes. The Heart Tribe is one of the 3 great powers of the Bright Cold Realm. If one considers that the 6 great races of the Heaven Tribe account for 60% of the Heaven Tribe's power, while the other races make up 40%, then the current strength of humanity is only around 1/10 of the Heaven Tribes. Even though the Heart Tribe is the weakest of the 3 great powers, they still have enough strength to overpower the human race, which is just a part of the Heaven Tribe. Step. While I'm silently assessing the human race, someone approaches from a distance. It's a maiden with white hair and red eyes, wearing light armor of violet and white. You've woken up. I pause, trying to recall who she is, and eventually her identity comes to mind. Cultivator Gal. Her identity is none other than Galmeek of the Grand Cultivator Association. Since she usually hides her body within her rugged bone armor, it took me a moment to recognize her in this state with just her body. Kim Yon, seeing her, explains further. The entire Grand Cultivator Association is currently imprisoned by the Heart Tribe, except for Grand Cultivator Galmeek. She was the only one who fiercely opposed fighting against the Heart Tribe. Galmeek sighs and speaks. It was simply a rational decision. Aside from me, none of the other Grand Cultivators, except for Hunwan and Wairionxian, have ever directly fought against the Heart Tribe. Even then, why Ryeonseon only fought against Heart Tribe members below the second stage of manifestation, and Hunwon, who has some proper fighting experience against them, is currently unconscious due to an internal clash of yin and yang energy. That's why the others didn't realize how terrifying the Heart Tribe is and rushed in recklessly, only to end up imprisoned. That's strange. The Grand Cultivators must have lived for at least thousands of years. How could they not have experience fighting against the Heart Tribe, nor understand their fearsomeness? I'm puzzled, but I understand immediately after Gal Meek speaks. Most of those who fought even once against a Heart Tribe of the third stage of manifestation or higher died, before they could rise to the rank of Grand Cultivator. Indeed, even ordinary cultivators are struck by 2,400 strands of heavenly tribulation when advancing to the integration stage. However, if they have a history of fighting against a Heart Tribe at the third stage of manifestation, the number of heavenly tribulation strands increases to 3,600 without question. Even if they manage to fight after reaching the integration stage, once they've fought, they would never be able to attempt another advancement again. Thus, it might be that reaching the position of Grand Cultivator is only possible if you avoid fighting the Heart Tribe. In any case, Sir Young-hoon is currently communicating with the Heart Tribe Supreme Council to prevent the entire Grand Cultivator Association from being executed. Communicating I look at them exchanging scenes furiously with intent, blending in enlightenment. It is a form of communication, I suppose. And him? As I briefly look toward Kim Young-hoon and the Supreme Council, Gal Meek bows deeply to me. Please forgive us for not fully grasping the Elder's true intentions earlier. In the end, you were right. Elder is the savior of all humanity. I merely did what had to be done. It seems even the Grand Cultivator Association has come to understand what I did. How could the salvation of humanity be something that's merely what had to be done? Your merits will be remembered for generations to come. Thanks. And if I may ask for one favor, please ensure that Sir Young-hoon remains safe. She looks at me as she speaks. Although it seems he is communicating with the Supreme Council, should things go wrong, only the Elder saving him can ensure the future for our human race. Indeed, no matter how exceptional a martial artist Kim Young-hoon is, if he were to duel with the leaders of the Heart Tribe, who have a history of being abused by humans, there's a chance they might try to kill him. Though that doesn't seem likely from the look of things right now. Currently, the Supreme Council of the Heart Tribe, who are sparring with Kim Young-hoon, are all feeling excitement, admiration, and respect. It doesn't seem like such a request is necessary. All right, if Kim Young-hoon is in danger, I will step in. Thank you. I accept the proposal, feeling like I'm clearing a debt. Gal Meek thanks me several times, then hurries off, saying she'll deliver the good news to the Grand Cultivator Association. For a moment I stand next to Kim Yoon, watching Kim Young-hoon spar. Kim Yoon, having a level of sight around entering heavens due to the wonderfully mysterious innate heart cannon. And me. For both of us, the spar using intent is as clear as day, like watching fireworks. We can fully observe the exchange of intent between Kim Young-hoon and the Supreme Council of the Heart Tribe. As I watch the display of fireworks, I turn to Kim Yoon and speak. Yona. Yes. You have something to say, don't you? I ask while sensing Kim Yoon's emotions. Though she's pretending to be fine, her mind is so devastated that it feels like she might collapse at any moment. Her sudden change in how she addresses me must be related to this. Kim Yoon takes a deep breath beside me. It seems she's trying to control the overwhelming emotions welling up inside her. After a moment of gathering herself, Kim Yoon slowly reveals a shocking truth. At last, I understand why Buck Hyung-hwa came to me with that request earlier. Hyung-hwa, she's going to die soon. Chapter 430, Her 2. Payet. Sparks fly as Kim Young-hoon lets out a joyful laugh, beads of sweat running down his face. Swoosh. The wind sweeps through Cedar Wood Grove, cooling the heat of the sparring match. I stand in the breeze, waiting for Kim Yoon's words. The Mad Lord told me, when she went to his wonderfully mysterious fortress. Her words continue, and I listen silently. After some time, the members of the Supreme Council, having finished their sparring with Kim Young-hoon, all turn their heads toward me in unison. We've heard much about you, that you've reached this realm through the same means as us, despite having the body of the Heaven Tribe. After absorbing all of Kim Yon's explanation, I silently take a step towards the Supreme Council of the Heart Tribe. Thunk. With just a single step, the members of the Supreme Council, who had been directing their intent at me, freeze in place. They stare at me, frozen, and even Kim Young-hoon beyond them shares the same reaction. Kim Young-hoon's eyes are wide enough to pop out of his head. I look at them calmly, letting my sword hang by my side. A slight nod. No words are needed. With a mere nod of my head, light flashes, and the 22 leaders of the Supreme Council, who only sent projections to face Kim Young-hoon, reveal their main bodies within the hall. We nearly failed to recognize a high person. Chinese letter, please forgive us. I simply continue to gaze at them silently. But even though I'm merely looking at them, they tremble all over, unable to bear the pressure of my presence and on the verge of collapsing. In that state, I take another silent step forward. At that moment, most of the 22 members of the Supreme Council start trembling violently, falling to their knees and collapsing in place. It seems that upon gazing directly at my soul, which has realized the Subheart Sword, none of them are able to maintain their composure. The Subheart Sword is something beyond comprehension for those around the level of entering heavens, beyond the path or treading heavens. However, the very fact that they are at a high realm means they can see too much, making the shock all the more overwhelming. Kim Young-hoon, in particular, seems the most affected, as he grips his saber against the ground, cold sweat pouring down his face uncontrollably. But indeed, they are the leaders of the Heart Tribe. Despite being directly exposed to my overwhelming presence, they manage to stand and regain their composure. I shift my gaze towards the 5 among them who respond best to my pressure. Their appearances are unimpressive. A little one from the small person race, a flower plant race with a body shriveled like a spinach leaf, a shrimp shell race that resembles a shrimp, a miniature monkey race that looks like a small, baby monkey, and a tiny fungal race that resembles a mushroom. Yet despite their frail appearances, they seem more formidable than anyone else present. Among them, one figure stands out the most. He is of the small person race, standing no more than 1 palm's length, a dwarf heart tribe. The small person race is one of the well-known slave races, resembling the human race but far weaker, and possessing little to no supernatural powers, making them easy prey and often captured and kept as pets. Yet the elderly small person race standing before me with his face covered in scars doesn't appear small at all. Holding a needle like a sword in his hand, the small person race elder looks up at me and speaks. Teach me a move. Huh? With the old man's shout, the 5 members of the Heart Tribe charge at me with a unified cry. From this point, words are no longer needed. Their combined assault begins. Pay it. The small person race elder, wielding his needle like a sword, executes a sword technique before me and waves his toothpick-sized needle. Though it appears somewhat cute, the outcome is far from that. Tung. As I deflect the slash from the old dwarf's needle upwards, the sky splits apart. A move similar to sky-splitting Kim Young-hoon shown before. An all-out strike carried out with the intent to cut through the entire Heart Tribe territory. The withered body of the flower plant race seems to be flying over me before striking down at me using the 1,000-pound drop technique. Swoosh! As I sidestep using footwork, a flash of light follows, and the spot where the flower plant race lands with the 1,000-pound drop explodes, causing the surrounding terrain to shift and change violently. Kagagugu. In the midst of the explosive brilliance, I calmly raise my sword and turn my gaze towards the shrimp shell race charging at me. They seem to be a boxer, and with their shrimp-like body, they thrust both fists toward me. It's clearly a laughable scene, appearing nothing more than a shrimp flailing its arms. But I smile faintly and swing my sword with all my strength. Kagagugung. Pay it. As my single strike clashes with the shrimp shell race boxer's punch, a formless shockwave blankets the entire area. It feels as though all sound in the area has been erased. The shockwave causes my body to lose function for a moment, and a ringing, pi sound fills my ears. Belwoon. Of course, I quickly regain my balance and prepare for the next attack. The baby monkey-like miniature monkey race rushes at me, grabbing hold of the ground beneath my feet. Fuang. Simultaneously, they swing the very ground I'm standing on, throwing me off balance. The mushroom-looking tiny fungal race stretches out both palms toward me. Kijijijijek. Their palms are filled with an immense concentration of chi, and I can feel that everything within that energy is rapidly disintegrating, nearing the point of annihilation. Behind me, the small person race elder. Above me, the flower plant race warrior. Below my feet, the miniature monkey race. In front of me, the tiny fungal race and shrimp shell race boxers. They are all closing in on me. Beyond them, the remaining 17 leaders of the Supreme Council, having assessed the situation, are attempting to distract my vision by disrupting me from a distance. Those who have awakened to the manifestation of sound arts like UHWA begin their performance. With the sharp sound of a geogeum, a traditional Korean zither, my body is immediately slashed, and an inescapable formless net covers me, making my whole body feel as heavy as 1,000 pounds. Darkness clouds my vision, and the blood flowing through my body grows hot, leaving me in a state unable to control my body. And in that state, I silently extend my sword and begin to dance with them. Tung! My sword hums as it deflects their attacks, sometimes redirecting them, and other times countering them. It seeps out. My sword naturally flows into the center of their formation, like a stream slipping between rocks. In the midst of our sword dance, we become completely united. I can feel their intent. The exultation of facing an opponent beyond comparison and competing against a master. Joy, excitement, reverence, and respect. I envelop their intent with my own. I overlay their martial arts with my own martial arts. It feels bleak, painful, miserable, suffocating. The vision is black. The Grand Cultivator Association gave me the nickname Sword Devil. I have no interest in such a grim title, but at least in this moment, I think it suits me all too well. That's how much my sword right now is steeped in dreadful screams and heartbreak. A hollow yet dreadful sword movement spirals within my refined swordsmanship as I intertwine with the supreme masters of the Heart Tribe Supreme Council. Kim Yon's earlier words echo faintly in my mind. When the Mad Lord first met Hyang-Hwa, he mistook her for one of his own bloodline. The old man with the needle lands at the tip of my sword, spins 7 times counterclockwise, and unleashes a powerful slash with the accumulated rotational force. He said that in the head realm, the extraordinary pattern law talent is actually a heavenly penalty, Chinese letter, that only his bloodline bears. Using my right foot as a pivot, I spin clockwise, shaking off the elder and dispersing the rotational force of the slash he sent flying. But he quickly realized that Hyang-Hwa isn't of his bloodline. He said that those with the extraordinary pattern law talent all bear a curse, and since the curses differ depending on the bloodline, Hyang-Hwa not having the same curse as his is proof that she isn't of his kin. Wu-Vung. My sword vibrates. I continue sparring with the Supreme Council without using any chi. However, my emotions are being expressed through my swordsmanship, and my pain descends from the plane of soul to the plane of chi. The surroundings gradually begin to be engulfed by devilish energy. The Mad Lord said that the extraordinary pattern law talent is like a bird trapped in a cage, a bird that cannot leave the cage. It's the first time I heard it, but he said those with the extraordinary pattern law talent must never leave the world they were born in. Their heavenly penalty and curse begins the moment they escape their world. In other words, those born with the extraordinary pattern law talent in the lower realms must never ascend. The surroundings are painted in darkness, and my sword energy slices through the air in all directions. Without drawing upon the energy within me or the heaven and earth spiritual energy, my sheer intensity causes my intent at the plane of soul to descend to the plane of chi, transforming into turbid energy. Amidst the torrent of devilish energy, a golden radiance pieces through between the 22 intents surrounding me. Cowing, Kim Young-hoon, unable to resist any longer, has stepped into the fray. But I push Kim Young-hoon's saber aside and recklessly unleash a barrage of sword energy. The curse of the Zhou clan is said to be tied to their surname. I'm not sure of the details, but even though Hyang-Hwa's curse is different, they do share some common points. The sword dance that started with clam emotions has at some point turned into a killing sword. I struggle to suppress the rising dark emotions within me, pouring more killing intent into my blade. Those cursed are said to eventually die. The Mad Lord connected his heart with Heres and forcibly tethered his soul to this land using the ghostly energy of the Nether Crossing ship's power source. And Hyang-Hwa is Kung. My sword sends the old man with the needle flying. And finally, flash. The sword pressure unfolding from my sword spreads out, knocking back the 22 members of the Heart Tribe Supreme Council along with Kim Young-hoon, allowing me to finally calm down, gradually losing the senses of her body. At this rate, not in centuries but within mere decades, she'll lose all her 5 senses. Eventually, even the sense of breathing will vanish and she'll die. Clench. I thrust the sword into the ground. Huh. I exhale. My chest feels tight. Right now, there's no connection between me and Buck Hyung-hwa. But strangely, my chest still feels heavy. I know the reason all too well. Even though the woman in this life is different from the one from the 10th life, witnessing her death again is agonizing. No, that's not it. To be precise, it's not just that. How many times has it been already? It wasn't long ago that I lost my followers to Great Mountain, or that I died while holding Kang Min-hee in my arms. And now, once again, it's been decided that one of my connections is going to disappear. Yes, this is loneliness. The dam of emotions, which had always struggled with the pain of losing connections, is now beginning to overflow with the finality of Buck Hyung-hwa's terminal fate. Squeeze. I grip the colorless glass sword tightly and slowly suppress my complicated emotions. And at that moment, the Heart Tribe Supreme Council, led by the small person race elder, bows deeply to me. It's an honor to witness such incredible skill. I'm ashamed. I give a bitter smile, unable to meet their eyes, nor those of Kim Yoon watching from behind me. I simply look up at the sky and speak. I failed to control my emotions, and turbid energy tainted my sword path. Is that so? Aren't you going to ask why? If you wish to tell us, go ahead. Most of us in the Heart Tribe have lived under abuse and torment, carrying 100 or even 1,000 pains within us. Thus, in Cedarwood Grove, we do not have the custom of prying into each other's hearts. Thank you. Looking at those who show me such courtesy, I feel embarrassed, yet overwhelmed by anger, sorrow, and indescribable panic. I lower my head, trembling. Seeing me like this, the small person race elder smiles gently and says, "In any case, after exchanging blades, I understand. Neither you nor that person are evil. Even though you couldn't steady your heart, you never resorted to a killing move in the end. Respecting your kind heart, we of Cedarwood Grove will accept you and the surpassing radiant divine demon as members of our forest. I thank you once again, but..." I calm my troubled heart, unsettled by thoughts of Buck Hyung-hwa, and ask a question. What do you plan to do about the human race? In the end, that is the biggest issue. What we just competed in was a pure martial contest, and that's the only reason I won. If we were to truly go all out, I would be the one who would surely lose. Why? Well, they're all disciples of Jang Ik. Within their heart essence, as if it's the most natural thing, Jang Ik's Pado is embedded in each of them. At their level, they are skilled enough to sufficiently draw out Jang Ik's Pado through their own will and wield it with Jang Ik's original power. In short, the moment I decide to oppose them, I will have to endure at least 22 single strikes at the star-shattering stage. Wu-Vung. I observe the energy within me. I've reached the second step before the throne. Now it is possible for me to use star-shattering level attacks. Of course, only for about 3 moves. It will still take much more time before I can become fully accustomed to this realm. As such, in my current relationship with the Heart Tribe, I can only take the position of the weaker party. At my question, they seem to exchange glances before responding. Normally, we would go through a trial before carrying out a sentence. How is the trial conducted? It's simple. It proceeds according to one's cultivation realm. For the grand cultivators at the integration stage and the old monsters at the 4-axis stage, our Supreme Council conducts a duel with them, during which we uncover their emotions and ideologies, essence, and past deeds. If any evil acts are revealed in the process, we execute them immediately. For those at the heavenly being stage and nascent soul stage, they are made to face the wall for 10 days while undergoing interrogation. Anyone who shows suspicious signs during this process is sentenced to death. From the core formation stage onwards, we conduct a more detailed inquiry, dividing the types of execution based on the severity of their sins. This ranges from a merciful beheading to harsher punishments like imprisonment, until death or execution by boiling. For those at the chi building stage, we subject them to a proper interrogation period, where those who have committed heinous offenses face death, while those with fewer crimes are sentenced to imprisonment or hard labor. Chi refining cultivators are generally sentenced to labor. There's too many executions. There's no other choice, is there? To us, the Heaven tribe and the Earth tribe are not targets for rehabilitation or salvation, but subjects of judgment. If someone is truly innocent and has never unjustly tormented the weak, even if they are a grand cultivator at the integration stage who practices devilish arts, we do not punish them. The small person race elder lets out a faint laugh and adds, of course, when it comes to the human race, one of the 6 great Heaven tribe races, even if they are chi-refining cultivators, the vast majority take the sacrifices of others as if it's something completely natural, trampling over them. Most of the human race is evil. His words are full of contempt, but I can't deny them. The sheer number of vengeful souls Kang Min-hee absorbed in the human race territory alone is enough to hint at the depth of humanity's sins. Still, I look at the small person race elder and ask, if you truly intended to do such a thing, you would have wiped out the human race before I even woke up. Yet, you waited, and only after I came out did you inform me of all this. Doesn't that mean there's something you want from me? At my words, the small person race elder smiles. You are correct. Tell me what you want. In response to my words, the elder bows politely and says, I understand that you did not use your full strength in our earlier sparring match. That is true. If I really used my full power, the Heart Tribe territory would have been completely destroyed, leaving no one, Heart Tribe or otherwise, alive. Please exchange a genuine single strike with one of us. What? If one of us can face your true strike, we will delay our judgment of humanity's sins. I can sense the burning desire in their eyes. The chance to face a master of a higher realm is extremely rare for us, especially since we've already reached the pinnacle of the first step before the throne. Don't you agree, O esteemed one? I momentarily open and close my mouth at their words, then gaze at them with a gloomy expression as I speak. I'm sorry, I respect your enlightenment. I also have the desire to compete with you. However, now is not the time. Why not? My state of mind is unstable. If I get serious, I might end up killing you. I've only recently lost my followers to Great Mountain. And I only recently held Kang Min-hee in my arms as I committed suicide. Now, on top of that, I learned of Buk Hyung-hwa's terminal diagnosis. One after another. All my connections are leaving my side. As I recall that fact, turbid energy, ghostly energy, and devilish energy once again rise around me. I don't want to kill those who have treated me as a guest. Please, if possible, come to me after I've calmed my heart. Upon hearing my words, the faces of the 22 Supreme Council leaders all twist into expressions as menacing as evil spirits. O esteemed one, may I say something? As much as you wish. We dare not claim to understand how you feel, esteemed one. No, none of us can truly understand each other's feelings. The words of the old man from the small person race are quite amusing. Isn't it because we possess the ability to read others' heart essences that we are called the Heart Tribe? Yet from the mouth of one from the Heart Tribe, who possesses this sight, comes the words that one cannot truly understand another's feelings. It's a strange statement. I think I understand. But somehow, I feel like I can understand his words. We possess the eyes to peer into the heart, but no matter how much we read, it's merely an outward reflection. It's impossible to truly stand in someone else's shoes and offer genuine comfort. That's why, in our cedarwood grove, not only is it an unspoken rule not to pry into others' emotions, but we also forbid offering careless consolation. Comforting someone is only permissible between those who share a deep connection. He meets my gaze. Thus none of us will comfort you, esteemed one. None of us will claim to understand your heart. However, just as we have not dared to judge you carelessly, we ask that you do not judge us carelessly either. Who among us do you think fears death? Boom! All 22 members of the Supreme Council step forward in unison and shout. To see the realm beyond, we are all willing to discard our lives at any moment. Stop with your strange words and show us your true strength. I look at them, feeling slightly incredulous. They call me esteemed one, but they don't treat me like how an ordinary cultivator would treat an esteemed one. Most cultivators, esteemed ones are akin to gods. Thus, when dealing with an esteemed one, they wouldn't dare to look at them directly, nor would they act in any way other than a devout follower obeying the command of their deity. But these people are different. You've raised good disciples, Master. Even if it means death, Each of them possess the spirit to speak their minds to a god, then die. No, it's precisely because they are such people that they became members of the Heart Tribe, reached entering heavens, and rose to this level. There's one more issue. What is it? I give them a bitter smile as I speak. I, too, am a disciple of the heaven-collapsing esteemed one. No. In other words, if I were to kill any of you as a fellow disciple, I would be killing my own senior brothers and sisters. So, what does that matter? The small person race elder shouts once more with a thunderous voice. Stop with the formalities and focus on sincerity. Besides, even if we are senior brothers and sisters, discussing enlightenment between us is only natural. If you've gained enlightenment ahead of us, then help guide your slower senior brothers and sisters. The old man's words leave me momentarily speechless, and I finally respond with a complex gaze. Understood. Squirm, squirm. I control the darkness welling up within me, the murderous intent rising from my chest, and ask, so, who among you will receive this junior brother's sincere strike? As expected, the small person race elder steps forward. I shall be the one. I stare at him for a moment before speaking. Do not regret this. I will have no regrets. Then here I come. The speed at which our consciousnesses accelerate grows faster and faster. In an instant, the surroundings darken, and only the two of us remain in this world. Here, physical size or any bodily constraints no longer matter. What remains is simply how one counters the other's techniques. Subheart Sword. From the start, I unleash my most powerful technique. To present an ambiguous move in front of someone who has shown such resolve would be an insult to my opponent. I pour everything I have into this one move. Transcending mountain ridge embedment. The heart sword that emerges from my heart essence digs into his heart essence at a speed faster than recognition. A single sword that cuts away at the heart every time he recalls me. But this is not the end. The application of transcending mountain ridge embedment. Payet. Transcending rivers embedment. Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter. The mountain grows steeper the further one climbs, and the river deepens the more one crosses. A person's heart is just like this. One step inside becomes as deep as 10, the end never in sight. The subheart sword that cuts through the heart at the plane of soul merges with the ability of the all-heaven sword and descends to the plane of chi. In short, Pugwagak. Originally, transcending mountain ridge embedment merely cuts the heart upon perceiving me, causing pain. But now, it means that perceiving me will cut even the physical body. Quagag. The needle he is holding snaps. But I can sense it clearly. He countered it. Though it was far from perfect, he confronted the form of transcending mountain ridge embedment. If his output had been as high as that of the heaven or earth tribes, he might have completely shattered my subheart sword. But that's all. In the end, one of the leaders of the Supreme Council, the old man from the small person race, died standing. I know. When I unleashed the subheart sword, I succeeded in perfectly controlling my emotions. However, because the small person race elder had faced me with his full power, this death was caused by the rebound of that elder's force. Rest in peace, senior brother. Senior brother. Senior brother. The leaders of the Supreme Council all pay their respects in unison towards the small person race elder. I know who he was. The highest-ranking disciple of Jang Ik's current students. The vice leader of the Heart Tribe Supreme Council. At this moment, in Jang Ik's absence, he was the acting leader of the Heart Tribe. Senior brother Jiang Chang, your noble spirit will be remembered forever. The swordsman of the small person race, Jiang Chang. On my first day of waking up in the Heart Tribe Cedar Wood Grove, I killed Jang Ik's oldest disciple. Author's note: the subtle brilliance of foolish old man moves mountains begins with the growing volume of its content. Shaya. Rain begins to fall after the death of the small person race elder. The river bend of Gyeongchang is known as sudden wind, sudden rain. The warrior of the flower plant race approaches and tells me the name of the manifestation Gyeongchang possessed. You must have witnessed the sudden, overwhelming power that surged from that small needle during the exchange of techniques. Indeed, it was exactly like that. It was a strength that couldn't have come from such a small body. How was that possible? I've already guessed the reason, but I ask wanting to hear more detail. Chang was an individual, yet not just an individual. He was the king, the lord of the countless members of the small person race gathered in Cedar Wood Grove. He was always connected to his people, borrowing their strength to fight. By gathering their small amounts of energy, he amplified his power in an instant, like how sudden raindrops falling can cause a disaster. That was Chang's river bend. And, as you might have guessed, if someone borrows something, they must eventually return it. Shaya. I watch as Chang's intent, mixed with the rainwater, disperses and fades away. It's a grand spectacle. The massive clump of intent that just moments ago had been sending power to Chang from the sky now expresses the grief of losing its king, saturating the air with yin energy and causing the rain to pour. Underneath the scattering raindrops, the strength that Chang gathered from his people returns to its original owners. But that isn't the end. If you borrow something, you must return it with interest. The king of the small person race has returned all the enlightenment and determination he gained in his last battle to the people who lent him their strength. I see. I now understand why Chang accepted my subheart sword without retreating a single step. Was his lifespan already nearing its end? Yes. The lifespan of the small person race is less than 1/5 that of the human race. Even if they rise to the first step before the throne, they can only live 2,000 or 3,000 years at most. Chang managed to live 3 times the maximum lifespan, reaching 20,000 years by consuming spiritual herbs and spirit fruits of Cedar Wood Grove, as well as stolen spiritual elixirs from the cultivators of the heaven and earth tribes. But that seemed to be his limit. A king who sacrificed himself as an offering for his people, raising the entire race to a higher realm. That was Chang. That was the man before me who, in order to gain enlightenment, saw the Tao in the morning and died in the evening. I turned to the flower plant race warrior and asked a question. You too seemed willing to risk your life like Chang. May I ask why? It's difficult to explain in detail, but all of us have our own circumstances and the twists and turns of life. After going through countless storms and tribulations, we have still survived, sharpening our resolve to reach this level. That is who we are. They look at me with serious eyes and speak. My name is Ryo HWA, Chinese letter / beautiful flower, a disciple of the heaven collapsing esteemed one. While it's difficult to tell you my entire life story, one thing is certain. Even if it had been me standing in front of Junior Brother just moments ago, not only I, but everyone in the Supreme Council, no. Anyone at the third stage of manifestation or higher would have cast aside their life without hesitation. Only then do I fully realize that this is the territory of the Heart Tribe. A land where anyone who can fight possesses something more precious than their life. People who are willing to risk their lives, not for themselves, but for something else. We call such people kings. Thus, everyone here is an honorable king in their own right. A forest where trees grow to build a grand palace for kings. This is the Cedar Wood Grove. I watch to the end, as the small person race gathers to hold a funeral for their fallen king. Perhaps because I was connected to Chang and shared his emotions, none of the small person race bore any resentment towards me. A short yet intense encounter with Chang, followed by death. And the events that unfolded afterward. Through this single incident, I come to understand what kind of place the Heart Tribe territory truly is. Afterwards, I politely ask about the names of all 21 members of the Heart Tribe's Supreme Council. Among them, I etch into my heart the names of the 5 individuals who withstood my pressure the best, including the king of the small person race, Chang. The king of the small person race, Chang. The great warrior of the miniature monkey race, Yihu. The grand elder of the tiny fungal race, Doc Young. The prophet of the flower plant race, Ryo HWA. The strongest of the shrimp shell race, Yu Yon. For some reason, I sense that I will be strongly intertwined with them, even in Cedar Wood Grove. And so, I truly became part of the Heart Tribe. Several days passed since I began interacting with the Heart Tribe. By the order of the Heart Tribe Supreme Council, I was guided to the outskirts of the Cedar Wood Grove. There they took me to a small shrine made of cedar. There is a request that our master left behind. According to it, Junior Brother must undergo seclusion within the cedar shrine. Seclusion. Ryo HWA, who became the vice leader of the Supreme Council after Chang's passing, nods her head. Yes, Master explicitly stated that, if someone in the Heart Tribe reaches the second step before the throne after him, they must be isolated and forced into seclusion. He firmly warned that they must not leave the seclusion until certain conditions are met. I see. It seems a bit difficult to grasp at first, but I nod. Somehow, I feel like I understand Jang Ik's intentions. It's likely to properly consolidate the enlightenment gained from second step before the throne. The cultivation of the heaven and earth tribes does not easily fade, but the cultivation of the heart tribe can sometimes regress. Their cultivation relies solely on enlightenment, so if they forget their realization after rising in level, their realm can fall again. Jang Ik likely recommended seclusion to ensure that the enlightenment is fully internalized, preventing such loss. Inside the shrine made of cedar, which I enter following Ryo Hwa, is a formation that prevents any light from entering, as if they're trying to express an impression of distant emptiness. What is the condition for leaving seclusion? It's simple. Wowung. Ryo Hwa raises a small, low-grade spirit stone in her hand. When the energy contained in this low-grade spirit stone fills the entire interior of the shrine, you may leave. It's a task similar to filling an entire house with a single coin. After gauging the energy in the spirit stone, I nod and sit down in the center of the dark shrine. Wowung. Upon closer inspection, I notice that the interior of the shrine is spatially compressed, and once I sit in the center, it appears much more expansive. No, it's not space compression. It feels more like the space was remodeled, similar to when a planet was transformed into an environment habitable for living creatures by Jang Ik with his Pado. Well then, I wish you good fortune, junior brother. May you succeed in fulfilling Master's task and emerge from your seclusion. Understood. Krieg thud. After saying her piece, Ryo Hwa hands me the low-grade spirit stone and closes the shrine door. TSTSTSTSSS. In the darkness, the low-grade spirit stone emits a very faint light. It's about as much energy a martial artist could inhale in a single breath using their internal energy method. To think I have to fill this entire space with such a meager amount of energy, it seems like a difficult yet intriguing task. Since things have come to this, I should properly stabilize my realm before leaving. With my head already full of complex issues, such as Bukhyang Hwa and other matters, this seems like a good opportunity to organize my mind. Wu Wang. As I observe my inner body, I simultaneously reach out with my consciousness to observe the current situation of humanity. Besides the space remodeling, there don't seem to be any restrictions. My consciousness easily slips outside the shrine. It seems the structure relies purely on the conscience of the person who entered to continue their cultivation earnestly. Humanity, for the most part, appears dissatisfied with having to live among the Heart tribe, who were once their slave race. However, a few seem interested in the Heart tribe's ways and are earnestly exploring martial arts. Particularly, Kim Young-hoon, a member of humanity who entered the Heart tribe's Supreme Council with dignity, has gathered quite the following. There's an amusing event where a strange group called the Bright Cold Martial Alliance has begun to form from his followers. Jian Myung-hoon, along with Yeon-wei and others, is holding a memorial service for the 4 disciples of the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect who had died recently. Oh Hyun-seok has been engaging in endless sparring with Azure Tiger Saint, gradually preparing to inherit the blue sky armor from him. And Kim Yeon is with Bukhyang Hwa. She is researching the wonderfully mysterious innate heart canon while assisting in the creation of Bukhyang Hwa's work. I briefly turn my gaze to where they are. Hyung Hwa, how are your eyes? They've gone a bit blurry. Bukhyang Hwa's curse is said to gradually dull all her senses until they are completely lost, eventually paralyzing her nervous system and killing her. Though called a curse, it's essentially a heavenly penalty that came with her extraordinary pattern law talent, and there's no way to reverse it. Last time, Kim Yeon asked me whether it might be possible to capture Bukhyang Hwa's soul in the same manner as the Mad Lord, using the power of the Nether Crossing ship's power source. But I rejected that idea. Having been trapped in a puppet for 1,000 years myself, I know clearly that such a state is neither truly living nor truly dead, a fate worse than death. Crack. Bukhyang Hwa's condition has worsened recently. She mentioned that her eyes occasionally became blurry when she woke up, or that she would lose the feeling in her fingertips. But now, the heavenly penalty seems to be advancing rapidly. I can roughly guess the cause. Great Mountain, you. Her condition started rapidly deteriorating after leaving the ancient force realm. Then, the most significant event during that time must be the cause. What more are you trying to take from me again? Clench. I grip the ground near me. Grains of dirt press under my fingernails, and I can feel the soil in my palm. I have no idea what to do. Am I just supposed to helplessly watch as Buck Hyangwa slowly dies? If I use the extinguishing divine tribulating heavens technique, would it not work? If I overlay Buck Hyangwa's fate with the extinguishing divine tribulating heavens technique, it isn't entirely impossible. But there's a problem with that too. The extinguishing divine tribulating heavens technique is a method that, by offering a sacrifice, changes one's fate by giving misfortune. To use this on someone else, I'd be offering myself as the sacrifice, giving the other misfortune. It would become an immortal art that changes one's fate. In other words, even if I use it on Buck Hyangwa, I will die, and she will have to live her entire life amidst misfortune and disaster. She wouldn't want that either. Just what am I supposed to do? While I suddenly feel emotional, I suppress the rising heart demon. It's dangerous. Until now, there haven't been many heart demons that posed a threat to me. That's because I, myself, am a more dangerous heart demon than all my other heart demons combined. Usually when heart demons approach me, it's I who devours them. But I feel it's different this time. With Buck Hyangwa's terminal diagnosis acting as the catalyst, I feel all the heart demons I've devoured so recklessly, until now trying to burst out from within my stomach. If a heart demon erupts this time, all the heart demons I've consumed in agony up to now will erupt in unison. Cedar Wood Grove will turn into hell. It isn't just a metaphor. There's a high chance that the monsters born from the evolved Black Blood Tears flower will burst forth all at once and plunge Cedar Wood Grove into an abyss of curses. Moreover, since there are no special restrictive formations inside the shrine, it's even more dangerous. First, calm down. I shift my thoughts back to cultivation, in an attempt to suppress the swirling emotions of rage and despair. I retract my consciousness that I extended outside the shrine back within. Wowoon. For some reason, the light from the lowest grade spirit stone in front of me dims. It's only emitting light. Normally, it should emit light for several years. It seems the stone doesn't have much energy, even for a lowest grade. I stop focusing on the spiritual stone and cross my legs in meditation, delving into repentant enlightenment. Wowoon. My current cultivation is at the late integration stage. Wowoon. The divine powers of time, wind, cold, heat, and sunlight are active within my domain. In the final moments of my past life, after consuming the heavenly lotus fruit, my very essence nearly twisted due to a heart demon. But the effects were certain. My cultivation surged to the grand perfection integration stage. And from that point, I shaved off my cultivation until I reached the second step before the throne, eventually stabilizing at the late integration stage. Normally, upon regression, my cultivation should have reverted back to the early integration stage. However, my advancement to the second step before the throne was helpful. I've now become capable of elevating my entire body to the plane of soul. And my regression is centered on my soul. What does that mean? From the moment I rose to the second step before the throne, even if I return, my cultivation will no longer regress. In other words, I no longer need to store my cultivation in the canvas of myriad forms and connections to recover my realm. What remains now is to recover my grand perfection integration stage cultivation, awaken the divine power of rain, and challenge the advancement to the star-shattering stage. That's all. As I focus on awakening the remaining divine power of rain, I begin dissolving all the stored cultivation in the canvas of myriad forms and connections into the colorless glass sword, since I no longer need to store it. The refining void dharma treasure is crucial for the advancement ritual to the start-shattering stage anyway, so enhancing the quality of the void dharma treasure is a necessary step. Kagagugugu. As I start dissolving the cultivation stored in the canvas of myriad forms and connection into the colorless glass sword, a mighty force that shocks the heavens begins to shake the entire cedar wood grove. Since the power stored in the canvas of myriad forms and connections is originally compatible with the colorless glass sword from the beginning, it doesn't take much time to enhance the sword itself. I just need to feed it. TS. A hazy mist rises from the colorless glass sword, then is reabsorbed. At the same time, my swords begin to hum. After all 3,000 colorless glass swords were refined into void Dharma treasures, they became connected to my heart essence and gained the ability to be resurrected even if they break or are destroyed. But that's all. For now, each of the 3,000 swords is merely a Dharma treasure at the grand perfection nascent soul level. However, as the cultivation stored in the canvas of myriad forms and connections begins to flow into the colorless glass sword, a transformation begins. TSAD. The sharp energy of each of the 3,000 colorless glass swords becomes even more ferocious, and their strength increases further. The 3,000 swords each begin to rise to the level of the heavenly being stage. The cultivation stored in the canvas of myriad forms and connections is spiritual power at the mid-integration stage. That level of spiritual power is more than enough to elevate the quality of the 3,000 Dharma treasures. I use 1% of the power stored in the canvas of myriad forms and connections to raise the 3,000 swords to the early heavenly being level. I infuse more power. The colorless glass swords evolve once again to the mid-heavenly being level. 3% of the power from the canvas of myriad forms and connections is consumed. Late heavenly being. 6% of the remaining power is consumed. Grand perfection heavenly being. 10% of the remaining power is consumed. Kyojujujudok. Suddenly, all of the colorless glass swords glow brightly, emitting a dazzling light. Flash. It feels as if a chrysalis is shedding its shell, and I sense that the rank of my colorless glass swords have dramatically risen again. 4-axis. The quality of each of the colorless glass swords is now at the 4-axis level. To get to this point, half of the cultivation stored in the canvas of myriad forms and connections has been used. I pour the remaining half of the stored cultivation into the 3,000 colorless glass swords. Payet. At that moment, all 3,000 colorless glass swords light up again and rise once more. Mid-4-axis. Dharma treasures at the 4-axis level are called out-of-standard Dharma treasures. Of course, there are Dharma treasures like the blue sky armor of the Azure Heaven Creation sect that surpass even the power of 4-axis level Dharma treasures, but the term out-of-standard Dharma treasure lies in its qualification. From this level onward, without at least reaching the 4-axis stage, it is impossible to fully draw out the power of out-of-standard Dharma treasures, which is why they are called 4-axis level Dharma treasures. Tsarat. The sharp glow of the colorless glass swords fades as they become out-of-standard Dharma treasures, losing their sharp energy and leaving only solid and dense intensity as they fall to the ground. To an untrained eye, they would appear merely as glass sword models, so ordinary that they can be mistaken for decorative items. But when I pick up one of the colorless glass swords that has fallen to the ground, it responds to my touch, emanating a sharp energy that can likely cut through the 4-axis canopy of a 4-axis stage cultivator. Any 4-axis stage cultivator would find that simply wielding one of the colorless glass swords would allow them to overwhelm opponents at the same level. Wowung. I gather all the scattered colorless glass swords back into one and gaze at them in contemplation. I have fully infused all the stored cultivation from the canvas of myriad forms and connections into each and every sword, elevating them to the level of out-of-standard Dharma treasures. They haven't fully integrated with the cultivation yet. The rapid rise in their quality is likely the cause. If I take time to allow the cultivation to fully merge with the Dharma treasures, each of the colorless glass swords will eventually reach the grand perfection 4-axis level. The power they will unleash when combined into one. It's to the point that even thinking of testing it gives me chills. But that's not the most important thing. TSDSDSDSDSDSDS. I unfold the canvas of myriad forms and connections that now resides within the colorless glass swords. The colorless glass swords glow brightly, releasing a hazy mist around them. Around me, a web of myriad connections visible only to my eyes unfolds. Now, I will never lose them again. Until now, losing the colorless glass swords also meant losing the canvas of myriad forms and connections, making it impossible to prevent the leakage of my memories. But now that the colorless glass swords have been refined into void Dharma treasures and are partially integrated with my heart essence, the canvas of myriad forms and connections has also merged with my heart essence. In other words, from now on, I will never again lose the canvas of myriad forms and connections. Embrace all connections and become impermanence. This is the enlightenment I came to upon reaching the second step before the throne. Literally, I have embraced all connections within my heart essence. The impermanence reached through filling is also emptiness. I observe the canvas of myriad forms and connections as I contemplate my enlightenment on impermanence. Originally a secret art for storing cultivation, the canvas of myriad forms and connections has now been completely emptied, revealing nothing but emptiness. As I gaze upon the connections within the completely empty canvas of myriad forms and connections, the enlightenment I previously only instinctively grasped now fully crystallizes. I see. Why does impermanence lead to emptiness? Many fundamentally misunderstand this. Emptiness Chinese letter is not hollowness Chinese letter. It doesn't mean being hollow, but rather being pierced through. Someone might look at an empty cave and think, it's hollow. But if they walk to the end of the cave and continue to dig, what happens? The cave will pierce through to the other side of the mountain, becoming a path that connects where they are with another place. Piercing through a path that connects one to one another. That is the essence of emptiness, and that is the true enlightenment I attained regarding impermanence. To embrace all connections and become impermanence. That means embracing all connections and breaking through a path towards all connections. In seated detachment, entering hope, I trained with the goal of compressing my heart essence into a single strike. But training in this realm will be about going beyond emptiness, opening a path from my heart towards all my connections. I see Jang Ik. I now understand why Jang Ik implanted his Pado into each and every heart tribe without distinction. Perhaps it's so he can connect with all of them. Parrot. I gather the canvas of myriad forms and connections into one. The hazy mist shrinks to the size of the lowest grade spirit stone in front of me. Having poured all the stored cultivation into the colorless glass swords, the energy within the canvas of myriad forms and connections is now even less than that of the spirit stone. As I gaze at that energy, I clearly understand Jang Ik's task. Parrot. The canvas of myriad forms and connections emits light. This light illuminates the entire shrine that is filled only with darkness. This light is the grace I received from understanding the hearts of my comrades from past lives. The shrine, once filled with nothing but darkness, is now filled with the light I have built up. From now on, just as this light erased the darkness, the emptiness in the shrine, I will continue to strive to understand the hearts of my connections. By doing so, this light will continue to grow. When the light grows and becomes as bright as the sun, I will finally reach the next realm, illuminating the endless emptiness within my heart and filling the hollow. That is second step before the throne. The position where one erases the void, Chinese letter with the heart. As thus, the name of this stage naturally settles in my heart. Void shattering, Chinese letter. Filling the hollow heart through the path of connections and the grace received from them, reaching the realm where the emptiness is erased. I now realize I have fully entered void shattering. Inside the shrine of the cedar trees. There, along with impermanence, I comprehend the structure of the canvas of myriad forms and connections. The canvas of myriad forms and connections is a path. The timeline of my past. A path where the memories of those timelines intersect. And at the center of that path is Buk Hyung Hwa's Norgi. I unconsciously extend my hand and grasp the connection with Buk Hyung Hwa's Norgi. Then familiar memories surge like a flood. Drip, drip. It's the memory from that time. The 10th cycle. That day, that final moment from back then. It remains so vivid. She who appeared before me as a soul. Her heart feelings, that almost touching sensation. The sentimentality of the kiss. The sense of liberation at the moment when the curse became a blessing. As I feel the tears streaming down, I fully understand Jang Ik's intention. Those who reach the realm of void shattering must all realize emptiness. Just as the answer to the heart sword differs for each person, so too does the answer for emptiness. But one thing is certain. People always forget emptiness so easily. Whether it is breaking through or emptying out, emptiness is something forgotten far too easily. As is the grace received from others. Until now, I thought I remembered everything through the canvas of myriad forms and connections. But now I understand how arrogant and foolish that thought was. I haven't truly remembered even a single thing. Though I may not have forgotten the memories, have I ever truly remembered the feelings from those moments? Along with the connection to Buk Hyung-hwa's heart, the hearts of countless others. Memories of the time spent with them flood into my chest. The moments I spent cultivating summoning wind, dragon transformation with Seo Ran, sharing both hardships and joy. The moments when I taught my disciples, telling them to live. As I recall the emotions in each of those countless moments, I gaze at the Norigi connected to me. Wowung. Through the Norigi, the emotions of someone else, not mine, begin to flow in. The current owner of the Norigi. The heart of this cycle's Buk Hyung-hwa is flowing into me. As I faintly feel the emotions of this cycle's Buk Hyung-hwa, I finally begin to understand, even a little, her feelings as she faces her impending death. I will complete it no matter what. I see. I was thinking Buk Hyung-hwa is dying. I was thinking she is leaving me because she has been cursed. It was a misunderstanding. It was a misunderstanding brought about by my arrogance, thinking of her merely as my person. Wasn't it the same with my disciples? How many times had I foolishly and ignorantly told them to just live, without respecting their true desire to achieve their life's goal? The cycle's Buk Hyung-hwa is, at this very moment, coming back to life in order to complete her creation as she approaches death. I see the illusion of Hong Suryo. If we cannot overcome fate, can't we at least make choices within fate's confines? If death and destruction are already fated, why can't I seek my heart's own path within that fate? My disciples, as well as Hong Suryo, they all wanted to end their lives with their own hands. The important part isn't wanted to end, but with their own hands. And now Buk Hyung-hwa too is trying to complete her work with her own hands before leaving. A thought crosses my mind. If everyone were to stay with me for 1,000 years, would that truly mean we are together? People are all fated to part ways eventually. Just as Songjin has now left me and Seo Ran forever. All people eventually face the time of parting. If that is the case, until that time comes, respecting each other as much as possible and remaining in each other's hearts. Would that not be the true way to be together forever? Parrot. I open my eyes and see the dancing light from the canvas of myriad forms and connections grow stronger. Yes, I've made up my mind regarding Buk Hyung-hwa. Let's prepare for the farewell. I will do everything I can to find a way to prevent the curse, but if that's not possible, I will bid her farewell in her final moments. I will stay with her as much as I can and send her off as a comrade of this cycle. Step. Clearing my heart and heart demons, I step out of the shrine. As I organize my Dharma treasures, I fully rise to the realm of void shattering. And I resolve my attitude towards Buk Hyung-hwa, as well as all the connections that will eventually leave me. Krieg. Both coming and going are their wills. If the fate that cannot be avoided tries to take away my connections, I will be sorrowful, but let's not fall into despair. I will try to protect them, but let's not obsess over them. While respecting their lives, let's cherish the remaining time even more. Krieg. It's when I close the door of the shrine. Kim Yeon appears before me. It's been 10 years. At those words I turn around. At the same time, Pazazazug, the cedar shrine I just left crumbles into dust. It has suddenly weathered away, as if Jang Ik had worked some trick. I see. Only then do I understand why, even though it was the lowest grade spiritual stone, its light went out so quickly. From the moment I focused my consciousness inside the shrine, my cognition had been distorted, and time had passed incredibly fast. In these 10 years, there was a great event. She speaks as she walks away. For now, let's go to Hyung-hwa. I'll explain on the way. All right. With a relaxed smile, I ask her. A great event, you say. What exactly was it? First, in the Heart Tribe territory, Sacred Master Beekwun's incarnation came to declare recognition of your status and bestowed upon you a title as an esteemed one. Chapter 432, Her 4. My title. It seems they are referring to a title similar to that of Heaven collapsing, esteemed one Jang Ik, a sobriquet for an esteemed one. So, the rumor that the title of an esteemed one is bestowed by the sacred master is true. There's a widespread story in the bright cold realm that the title of an esteemed one is granted by the sacred master. There are countless stories about why the sacred master grants the title, but nothing is definite. My title, what is it? You'll know soon enough. We're here. Just as I'm about to ask more about my title, Kim Yoon and I arrive at a house located in Cedar Wood Grove, where Buck Hyung Hwa resides. The Cedar Wood Grove of the Heart Tribe is a dense forest of cedar trees that seem to pierce the sky. Unlike ordinary tall cedars found elsewhere, the trees here are abnormally strong and thick. Most of the Heart Tribe selects one of these massive trees, hollowing out its interior to live within. Humans, now treated as guests of the Heart Tribe, also mostly reside in such places. As we step inside the cedar house, we see Buck Hyung Hwa busily working with her hands. A radiant pattern shines on her face. Below her hands, a design is drawn, depicting the positions of numerous constellations. What are you doing? Feeling an odd sense of familiarity and unease, I ask. Buck Hyung Hwa shows me the design in more detail in response to my question. You've finished your seclusion, esteemed one. You can drop the esteemed one, just call me what you did before. Still, you've been officially recognized by the sacred master. Please, I don't want to be addressed like that by my comrades. Understood if that's what you wish. Either way, you were asking what I was doing, right? Look at this. These are constellations of the head realm. I flinch in surprise as I speak. What do you not know what happened to Chingmun Ryong, who was exploring the constellations of the head realm? Don't worry. This is only a part of the constellations from the head realm. A part? Yes, the constellations that match the ones I observed in the deep sea of the ancient force realm. I only drew those. The deep sea of the ancient force realm. Yes, for some reason, my Norigi is connected to Taoist Seo's colorless glass sword, and both my Norigi and the colorless glass sword, for reasons unknown, hold the power of ancient force. Therefore, to unravel the secret of the Norigi, I believe we need to approach the mystery of the ancient force realm. I don't know what to say to her. The secret of the Norigi is ultimately tied to the point of intersection of the powers of several different timelines due to my regression. But I can't reveal that. No matter what, a past timeline cannot be returned to, nor can it be interacted with. Therefore, her efforts are ultimately futile. But I can't say that it like that. Instead, I ask her another question. Is there any proof that the colorless glass sword and the Norigi specifically possess the power of ancient force? The colorless glass sword undoubtedly contains the records of my previous cycles. However, how can my previous cycles be related to the power of ancient force, the power of a perished world? Is there concrete evidence that my previous cycles are treated as a ruined world? As I ask this, Buck Hyung Hwa hands me something. If you've completed your seclusion, you should take this. I take the strange scroll she hands me, and I'm startled. Why is this? It looks like a simple scroll, but in reality it's a clump of chi. It's so thick with energy that it feels almost tangible. Kim Yoon beside me explains the scroll. The sacred master bestowed an esteemed one's title, right? It's written there. I try to unroll the scroll after hearing those words. However, unexpectedly, the scroll doesn't budge at all. Kim Yoon continues explaining. The sacred master's incarnation said that the scroll can only be opened by breaking it with the single strike of an esteemed one. Once you accept the contents, you'll be officially declared as an esteemed one of the bright cold realms, proclaimed to the entire middle realm. I see. So my title as an esteemed one hasn't been made public yet. If it's an esteemed one's single strike, it must refer to power strong enough to cut a star. I nod and take hold of the scroll. But with my eyes on the scroll, I ask Buck Hyung Hwa another question. So, how will you answer my question regarding this scroll and the power of the ancient force realm? Pointing at the scroll, Buck Hyung Hwa replies. The black scroll, haven't you seen something like it before? Seen it before? I frown at her words. This is clearly a highly condensed mass of chi, to the point of materializing. I've never seen a clump of chi in the form of a scroll before. However, I suddenly remember having encountered this type of energy before. Black ancient paper. Correct. It's the black ancient paper we saw in the ancient force realm. I kept the scroll imbued with the same energy as the black ancient paper for a while and studied it. Through that, I discovered a commonality in things imbued with the power of ancient Chinese letter. A commonality. Yes, everything that contains the power of ancient Chinese letter is related to one thing: dreams. Dreams? Yes, but I'm not referring to the dreams one has while sleeping. I'm referring to Hope's Chinese letter. Buck Hwa continues her explanation. When I combined my research on the pseudo-black ancient paper scroll with my Norgi, and the research data I gathered when Taoist Seo allowed me to study the colorless glass sword, I found that certain constellations from the head realm, or even some deep-sea constellations from the ancient force realm, share similarities with the flow of spiritual energy imbued with this power of ancient Chinese letter. As I studied those constellations, I came to a hypothesis that by connecting to certain constellations, one can tap into the mind of the power of ancient Chinese letter, much like how Senior Ching-mun Ryong harnessed the power of constellations to unfold some secret art. What? I exclaim in shock, raising my voice. Stop immediately. Do you want to turn into a pillar of salt? I cannot stop. What do you? Because if the power of ancient truly comes from someone's hope, then the power of hope imbued in my Norigi must be my mother's. Esteemed one, no Taoist Seo, may I ask you something? 600 years ago when we first met you gave me this Norigi, did you not? Yes, I did. Buck Hwa's gaze becomes more serious. Do you know who created this Norigi? Miss Mother, of course. That's right, which means it's highly likely that the hope within this Norigi is my mother's. Ever since I was a child, I've longed for my mother. That's why I kept this Norigi, her keepsake, and followed her last wishes by living in Chinsik City. Therefore, if this Norigi contains my mother's hope, I must find out what it is. The hope contained in that Norigi may not necessarily be your mother's. I sense Kim Yon looking at me with a slightly shocked expression. Buck Hwa, as expected, looks at me with a sudden expression of surprise before asking me a question. Then, whose hope is in this Norigi? I let out an awkward laugh and sigh. It's nothing. It might very well be the hope left by Mrs. Mother. I will go check my title in the scroll. With that, I hurriedly leave Buck Hwa's workshop, almost as if fleeing. Throb. My heart pounds painfully in my chest. If the Norigi holds someone's hope, then whose desire could it be? I know all too well. The hope contained in this Norigi belongs to her from the 10th cycle, and to me from that time as well. I wipe my face. Looking into a nearby puddle, I see that my face has grown noticeably somber, and my intent is oozing with vivid sorrow. It's blue. I've always thought the intent of sorrow was dark blue. But now I see, the dark mixed in with dark blue seems to be another color that accompanies sorrow. TL/N, dark as in black. Is it obsession? Through a process of elimination, I guess the nature of the black intent. While naming the realm of void shattering, I determined my attitude toward Buck Hwa and casted off my obsessions. Afterward, while flowing with the intent of sorrow, the dark blue became a pure blue. Having reached 5 energies converging to the origin, I am able to see all intent, but even now, the world of intent seems boundless. I suddenly turn to look behind me. Behind me, Kim Yon is looking at me. She's looking at me with an oddly calm expression. Are you all right? I'm fine, and you? I'm okay. I see. I'll check my title and visit the sacred master. Regarding the black ancient paper and ancient force, she will probably know more. We smile at each other, sharing lies that are obvious to us both. I am not all right, and Kim Yon, having sensed my strange emotions, also seems to have some unsettled intent. But I can't explain it, and she doesn't press me to explain either. I fly up into the sky above the Heart Tribe territory and glance at Kim Yon below. Something is changing. From the moment she met Buck Hwa, no. To be precise, from the moment she became closer to her, something has been changing with Kim Yon. The anxious mind I saw in the nether ghost realm seemed to heal a bit after meeting her, so I thought it was a positive change and left it alone. Is it changing for the better? I don't know. No, honestly, whether it changes for better or worse, it's arrogant of me to even evaluate whether it's good or not. I just hope she doesn't fall into madness from heart demons. I hope Kim Yon grows properly, and as I rise to the point where the Heart Tribe territory becomes as small as a dot, I unfurl the scroll into the sky. Now then, let's see what title the sacred master has bestowed upon me. Pay it. I use the 31st move of severing mountain swordsmanship. Accumulating dust forms a mountain directly on the scroll. Flash. A single strike powerful enough to cleave through a planet launches towards the scroll. The scroll, which wouldn't budge an inch under ordinary power, explodes into light as it meets the first strike of accumulating dust forms a mountain. At the same time, Kagagugugu. An enormous explosion erupts, and the surrounding spacetime begins to distort. This is. I realize what's happening now, and I am shocked. This crazy. The celestial energy of the entire bright cold realm is starting to converge on this spot. The will of sacred Master Beak Woon begins to manifest in this place. She is borrowing the power of the bright cold realm, performing a miracle that would be impossible for an ordinary sacred vessel. As the scroll explodes, a cloud of dust made up of countless particles spew out. And with the twisting of space-time and the concentration of celestial energy, the power of the bright cold realm begins to compress the dust cloud. Uwu. From its center, an unknown stirring can be felt, and something begins to appear in the sky above the Heart Tribe territory. Star. That is a planet. The dust cloud, having swallowed my previous strike, is now forming a planet imbued with my energy. The planet begins to absorb the dust cloud, forming an attraction force. Simultaneously, beyond the attraction force, sacred Master Beak Wounds will imprint itself into my mind. In blessing of Seo Yun Hyan of the human race, who has newly stepped into the realm of esteemed ones, I bestow upon thee a new governing territory, Chinese letter, and Dharma tool, Chinese letter. This shall become your symbol from henceforth, serving as the mark symbolizing your connection with the bright cold realm. Kagagugugu. I stand in awe as I watch the star forming before me, and at the same time I know its name. The star's name is within heaven's Chinese letter. It is named in honor of you, an esteemed one of the Heart Tribe who has transcended the plane of Qi and reached the plane of Soul. Welcoming your arrival at a new sky, I hereby grant upon thee the title of within heaven's esteemed one of the bright cold realm. Kuyuwell. I can instinctively sense it. If I connect my attraction force to that within heaven's star, I will immediately be recognized as the within heaven's esteemed one, and truly become an esteemed one of the bright cold realm. Since attaining void shattering, my attraction force has grown stronger than before. Perhaps those who reach void shattering, the second step before the throne, gain some degree of control over attraction force, much like the heaven and earth tribes. However, I only stare at the star in front of me without connecting my attraction force to it. For some reason, I don't like it. Within heaven's Chinese letter means to leave this world and reach the other world. It's a symbol representing me, who can now fully rise from the plane of Qi to the plane of Soul. With a dark expression I shout, "O sacred master, may I have a word?" Since the entire bright cold realm is practically Beak Woon's domain, I shout towards the sky, assuming she must be watching. I do not desire this title nor this star, please take them back. It happens in the next moment. Kuang. My mind is transported, just like before, to the summit of Heavenly Lotus Mountain, where sacred Master Beak Woon resides. I've arrived inside the white jade pavilion. It has been a while, sacred master. I offer my respects to sacred Master Beak Woon, and she looks slightly surprised. I only summoned your mind. As you know, for the Heart Tribe, the flesh and the soul have become one and the same. Even if only my mind is summoned, I can always come as my main body. Facing the sacred master, I realize she is somewhat uncomfortable. Is she reluctant to meet an esteemed ones in person? I suppose, considering she's of the Heaven Tribe, it might be a bit uncomfortable for her to meet me, a Heart Tribe in my main body. Jang Ik couldn't do that. He could not freely cross between the plane of Qi and the plane of Soul like you can. It seems even Jang Ik couldn't immediately manifest his main body just because his mind was summoned. This must be something I'm able to do thanks to the ability of my all-heaven sword. I thought all esteemed ones of the Heart Tribe could do this, but I guess not. I nod calmly and then deliver my request to the sacred master. Once again, I humbly request, sacred master, please take back my title. I make my plea while feeling the pull of attraction in the distance. As soon as my main body moved closer to the sacred master, the The within heaven star above the heart tribe territory began moving towards me. Is the star actually using the ground shrinking technique to come? The star itself is bending space with attraction force as it heads in my direction. It will probably reach here soon. Sacred Master Beek Woon asks curiously, why do you reject it? The within heaven star bestowed upon you, much like the heaven collapsing star I granted Jang Ik, is inscribed with the spell of ground shrinking. It will enable you, as a heart tribe, to traverse boundless spacetime just like the star shattering esteemed ones of the heaven and earth tribes. I apologize, but even if it is something so grand, I cannot accept it. Why not? That is, I respond, feeling the boundless vision granted by the realm of void shattering. I was able to reach this realm thanks to my connections. As such, I wish for the name by which others call me to contain the meaning of those connections. This is not a realm granted by pleading with the heavens. This is a realm reached by accumulating connections. The will that has settled in my heart ever since the day I attained ultimate pinnacle. How many times did I cry out to the heavens? The heavens did not answer me. How many times did I ask the heavens for help? The heavens only brought me calamity and suffering. Heavens above. I despise the heavens. I deny the empty heavens that have taken from me, again and again. It's not simply saying that I hate my fate. The heavens also mean true immortals. Even now, the hatred and anger toward the owner of Great Mountain, who has taken everything from me, have not subsided. In such a state, I have not even the slightest thought of accepting a title related to immortality, fate, or heavens. Therefore, I think that heavens should not be part of my title. Barely suppressing the instinctive disgust rising within me towards the name, I respectfully request to Sacred Master Beek Woon. I deeply implore you, Sacred Master, for your mercy to change my title to something else. Just hearing the name within heavens makes an overwhelming sense of revulsion rise from some unknown place. Beek Woon shows a slightly troubled expression at my words, then speaks. That name was not something I chose, but rather came from a name divination, Chinese letter, Chinese letter. It is the best name for you, the one that will offer the greatest support to your fate. Name divination, Chinese letter, Chinese letter. It's a form of fortune-telling to determine the most suitable name. The same name divination was used by the Earth Tribe's name diviners to give Hong Fan his name. Sacred Master Beek Woon must have used the same method to determine my title. Shaking my head, I respond, I'm fine without the greatest support. Please give me another name. Very well. Beek Woon nods and uses celestial energy to present another name before me. How about this one? It was one of the names from the name divination. It has weaker attraction force than within heavens, so I kept it as a second option. If it's the connections you are talking about, this name would suit you better. The name that appears before me is Heavenly Ladder, Chinese letter, Chinese letter. A name meaning ladder of heavens. A connection is like a rope or ladder that guides each other. This name has the meaning of an esteemed one who has ascended to this realm through the ladder bestowed upon by the heavens. I stare at the characters that means ladder of heavens for a moment, then shake my head. They are not connections bestowed by the heavens. We simply met. This name doesn't sit well with me either. If my connections are something bestowed by the heavens, doesn't that mean the heavens can take it away as well? If even the dying Buck Hyung Hwa is a connection granted by the heavens, doesn't that mean her dying right now is also the will of the heavens? The name Heavenly Ladder gives me an unpleasant feeling, as if all the connections I'll make from now on will leave me through the ladder of heavens. Beek Woon lets out a quiet hum and waves her hand. The characters for Heavenly Ladder disappear from my sight, and a new word appears in front of me. As you seem to dislike names including heaven, I'll leave it out. Most of the esteemed ones from the bright cold realm were quite pleased when their names contained a reference to the heavens. You are somewhat peculiar. The next word that appears is aurora, Chinese letter, Chinese letter. The light that arises from the extreme polar regions of the stars in the astral realm is called aurora, Chinese letter, / polar light. Most of those from the decaying corpse realm don't know what it is, but once they see it, they can never forget its beauty. Once a connection is made, it becomes an unforgettable beauty. Hence, how about the name Aurora? I gaze at the word for a moment. It's a good name. But be wary of light. Suddenly, the words of those who warned me many times flash through my mind. The term twilight, Guangium/Guang meaning light, like in the case of the twilight domain of the Wuji religious order, isn't necessarily limited to the concept of light. And it wasn't a name for me, but for the land we inhabited, so it was fine. However, the name given by sacred Master Beek-Woon carries power. If I accept this name, I can clearly feel that the star and blessing of the name Aurora will support my fate. Such power will become attached to my title. Recalling the warnings about light, I shake my head again. Could you please remove the word light, Chinese letter? At my words, Beek-Woon finally lets out a sigh. Why are your demands so many? That I cannot do. Pardon? At Beek-Woon's next words, my body flinches. Every esteemed one from the bright cold realm must have a character symbolizing either heaven Chinese letter or light Chinese letter in their name. I cannot fulfill your request. He speaks with a stern expression. Just accept your name now. Within heaven's heavenly ladder, Aurora, they are all excellent names that will provide you the greatest benefit. Kagagugu. Beek-Woon's imposing aura begins to press down on me. I think about the names for a moment, then speak. In that case, I will not accept a title. If the title of an esteemed one must be tied to heavenly assistance, I don't need it. After all, I already know that the heavens are not favorable toward us. I will live out my fate through my own strength. There's no need for the sacred master to bestow me a name. Sacred Mater Beek-Woon seems taken aback by my words and shouts. What? That cannot do. Every esteemed one must be granted a title by the sacred master. That is the law Chinese letter of the middle realm. Kagagagugu. An overwhelming pressure crushes down on me, as if the entire bright cold realm is trying to squish and mangle me. I look at the sacred master for a moment. Then I draw my sword and point it at her. I refuse. Chapter 433, Her 5. Dujajujajujudo. The heavenly lotus mountain near the white jade pavilion shakes. Are you saying right now that you're going to oppose me? How could I possibly oppose the sacred master? Yet you raise your sword. It is merely for my own protection. I look calmly at sacred Master Beek-Woon and speak. If you must bestow a title upon me, then please explain the reason why. Until then, I cannot accept such a name. Very well, I shall explain. Her explanation continues. Are you familiar with the structure of the heavenly domain? I implore for the sacred master's detailed guidance. Wo-Young. The surroundings begin to change. Sacred Master Beek-Woon projects an illusion, seemingly miniaturizing the entire celestial system of the heavenly domain for display. Tiny mesh-like structures resembling clusters of galaxies are scattered all around. This is the sun and moon heavenly domain we are within. While most divide it between the astral realm and the decaying corpse realm, the truth is that the size of the astral realm far exceeds that of the decaying corpse realm. Wu-Lung. A faint attraction force starts to gather within the illusion she created. At the same time, I notice the flow of attraction force in various parts of the illusion. The attraction force is distorting various parts of the heavenly domain. Due to the attraction force emitted by stars, the heavenly domain is distorted in many places. Especially the regions with distortions that are particularly severe are where quasi-immortals reside. I examine the locations where the quasi-immortals reside. There are roughly 140 highly distorted points. In other words, there are about 140 quasi-immortals at the entering nirvana stage within the sun and moon heavenly domain. Do you notice anything strange? As I'm observing the model of the sun and moon heavenly domain, she asks me a question. Recalling something that has been bothering me for a while, I respond to sacred Master Beek-Woon's words. The decaying corpse realms and middle realms are nowhere to be seen. That's right. No matter how hard I search, I cannot find decaying corpse realms or the middle realms. Beek-Woon nods and explains. That's right. The decaying corpse realms and middle realms do not exist within the astral realm. In truth, most beings in the middle realms think that the astral realm and the decaying corpse realms are located somewhere beneath their middle realm. But they are mistaken. Their cultivation levels are too low to perceive the true structure of the heavenly domain, hence the misunderstanding. Wu-Lung. Once again, the structure of the illusion changes. Originally, the center of the heavenly domain is not the middle realms. It was the astral realm, also referred to as the universe. With the astral realm that continues to expand at the speed of light as the center, countless living beings are born within it, each walking a different path according to their fate. Different path, what do you mean by that? Let me ask you this. Do you believe that the only truth, the absolute in this world, is immortal cultivation? I shake my head at her question. That is not the case. Immortal cultivation is merely one of the many methods. You are correct. Immortal cultivation is merely one method. Taku. With a snap of Beak Woon's fingers, illusions rise from the endless sea of stars. They are living creatures. I see life forms walking the path of immortal cultivation. These beings mimic the stars, gradually growing their energy and strengthening their life force, generating attraction force within their souls. After a while, when the attraction forces of certain life forms reach some level of strength, they begin to disappear from their positions one by one. I recognize what is happening and flinch in realization. That's correct, it's ascension. Now let me show you. Pay it. As she flips her palm, the surroundings shift again. This time, we are in a pitch-black void. A void where nothing exists. And at the center of that void, there are 5 massive orbs of light and a small light in the center. Surrounding the 5 orbs of light are countless dots resembling grains of sand. This place is the interdimensional void. The astral realm and the interdimensional void are layered over each other. Those who cultivate their attraction force to the extreme, those who we call cultivators, all reach the interdimensional void and arrive at the middle realms. To put it simply, Wu-Wung. 2 sheets of paper float in front of me. On one sheet the universe is drawn, and on the other pitch-black darkness. As Beak Woon moves her fingers, the sheet with the universe and the black sheet overlap. With the sheet depicting the astral realm on top, Beak Woon performs some sort of spell, and the drawings within the paper begin to move. All cultivators are the life forms within the sheet. As time passes, the attraction forces they possess grow stronger, pulling in the surrounding force. Some of the drawings begin to enlarge. And when that force reaches its limit, Wu-Wung, the largest of the drawings, absorbs the surrounding black ink and bursts from 2 dimensions into 3. Just like this, they transfer to another layered world. The drawing that absorbed the ink flows into the overlapped black sheet. That is the true nature of ascension for cultivators. After pondering for a moment, I ask a question. So, when their attraction force becomes strong enough, they move to the middle realms of the interdimensional void. Then, what are decaying corpse realms? The decaying corpse realms consist entirely of the corpses of great beings, and the corpses of these great beings by themselves possess the same property as the astral realm, though they are a bit smaller in size. If I were to explain it using paper, it would look like this. Above the black sheet, a paper figure in the shape of a person forms. The paper figure is torn to shreds, and the torn pieces stick to the black paper in small fragments. I nod, understanding the meaning behind this. So then, aside from immortal cultivation, what are the other paths? According to sacred Master Beak Woon, when life forms come to possess attraction force, they arrive in the interdimensional void and reach the middle realms. Does this mean that one can possess something other than attraction force? At my question, she smiles. It's quite simple. It's a conclusion you already know. Pardon? Another sheet of paper floats in front of me. This one is ashen. All life forms in the universe will accumulate attraction force as time passes. Those with sufficient attraction force reach the interdimensional void, but those who do not reach somewhere else. Some of the smaller drawings on the astral realm paper gather ink and are ejected from the astral realm. The ashen paper layers with the sheets. The drawings ejected from the astral realm sink into the ashen sheet. I understand what the ashen sheet represents. The underworld. That's right. She is explaining that the astral realm is layered over both the interdimensional void and the underworld. If her explanation is correct, it makes sense why those who practice ghost path methods in the bright cold realm can connect to places like the outskirts of the netherworld. It's because they are layered. So, the structure of the heavenly domain is such that the underworld and the interdimensional void are layered with the astral realm as the core. When I ask, sacred Master Beak Woon shakes her head. That's not the end. Snap. 2 more sheets of paper appear. With the astral realm as the center, the interdimensional void and the underworld are layered. Those who cultivate attraction force reach the interdimensional void, while those who fail are drawn into the underworld after death. However, by adjusting the changes of attraction force, one can reach yet another place. One of the sheets is covered with countless lines, forming a net as if trying to cage the entire universe. I recognize the identity of that net-like paper. Star veins. Adjusting the changes of attraction force. Are there cultivation methods for that? No, the changes of attraction force cannot be cultivated by normal living beings. If the underworld and the interdimensional void are where cultivators and living creatures go, this place is where stars reach. Stars. That's right. The stars that make up the astral realm and the passage of time in this world are regulated from that world. That world is the river of time, the source river, or also called the fate realm, Chinese letter. I see. I understand the meaning of sacred Master Beek Woon's words. The world called the source river is the domain of the heavenly venerable of time. The source river is where things that are not living creatures, the souls that are not fully formed, the non-living go to. There's no need to concern yourself with the source river. The remaining one place is more important to living beings like us. Wu Weng. At her words, I focus on the last sheet of paper. That paper is filled with a kaleidoscope of all of heaven's natural colors. The flower realm, also known as the Eastern Heaven Flower Field, is a strange dimension. If living beings in the astral realm die and go to the underworld, and the non-living from the astral realm go to the source river to be regulated, then the Eastern Heaven Flower Field is the world that returns the non-living from the source river and the souls from the underworld back to the astral realm. I see. In any case, these 5 different dimensions layered together form a single heavenly domain. The vast majority of heavenly domains share this same structure. As I grasp the structure of the heavenly domain, I understand the true nature of my star vein eye. I see, just as nether perception senses the outskirts of the netherworld, the star vein eye senses outskirts of the source river, the domain of the heavenly venerable of time. I initially thought I obtained the star vein eye simply by studying the attraction force between the star veins and stars. However, perhaps it isn't something I gained on my own, but rather granted to me by the heavenly venerable of time. No, more precisely, because his immortal treasure, Yung Seung, granted me permission that I came to possess it. In that case, the senses of the star vein eye seem to be something that will be impossible for anyone else to acquire, barring very exceptional circumstances. I organize my thoughts and ask a question. So, what is the relationship between the sacred master's bestowal of titles and the structure of this heavenly domain? In response to my words, Sacred Master Beek Woon erases all the surrounding illusions, leaving only the 5 sheets of paper floating in front of me. These 5 worlds, layered and stacked, form the heavenly domain. The 5 sheets of paper layer together, appearing like one slightly thicker sheet of paper. As I nod, Sacred Master Beek Woon causes the paper to change. The ink within the paper gathers, forming a small sphere the size of a finger. With the sphere as the center, a distortion occurs around it. When a lifeform's strength exceeds a critical point, it transcends dimensions like this. Now let me ask you something. This ink sphere here, which world does it belong to? Since it transcended the flat surface and became 3-dimensional, you could say it belongs to all the worlds. Correct. Now here's another question. The ink, having gathered and transcended dimensions, now belongs to all the domains layered within this paper. In that case, where will this ink ultimately belong? What do you mean? Isn't the ink sphere something that transcended the flat surface of the paper? Wrong. As long as its essence remains just ink, it can always be reabsorbed by any one of the sheets of paper. Sururuk. The ink sphere that had popped out into the 3-dimensional world is reabsorbed by the ashen paper. I feel chills as I witness the scene. I understand what Sacred Master Beek Woon is trying to say. Ceremony of bestowing a title upon you is to anchor you to relatively safe places like the interdimensional void or the astral realm. Right now, you're like that ink sphere. You've transcended the plane, but because of that, you're in a position where you can be reabsorbed into any place. In other words, from the moment you entered that realm, you've been at risk of falling into places like the underworld, the Eastern Heaven Flower Field, or the Source River, places where ordinary beings cannot survive. Shiver. That means I recall the heavenly venerable of the underworld who once pursued me during my regression. The oldest existence, the deepest darkness. That meant that I could, at any moment, fall into the boundless darkness where that being sought to taxidermize me for eternity. If I fall into the underworld, I will surely die. But wouldn't I be able to survive if I fall into places like the Source River or the Eastern Heaven Flower Field? Heh, you're optimistic. Didn't I tell you that the Source River is where the non-living, not living creatures go? You did. If a living creature enters there, they will be transformed into a non-living by the laws of that place. Rationality will be forcibly erased, and they'll be expelled into the astral realm as nothing more than cosmic dust. Do you think the Eastern Heaven Flower Field is any different? The Eastern Heaven Flower Field is far more closely linked to the underworld and the Source River than places like the astral realm or the interdimensional void. If you fall into the Eastern Heaven Flower Field, you'd better worry about being dragged into the underworld than about escaping. She looks at me sternly, dispelling all the illusions as she speaks. Accept it, the bestowal of a title is solely for your protection. But as I recall the structure of the heavenly domain that sacred Master Beak Woon just showed me, I speak. If the ink sphere is the star-shattering stage being, at risk of being absorbed into another world and hence anchored in the middle realm to prevent that, then wouldn't it be resolved if we have a foothold in another world as well? I explain my nether perception to her. I have cultivated the ghost path method and thus possess nether perception. Due to this, I am straddling both the outskirts of the nether world and the bright cold realm. If I maintain a balance between the two, wouldn't that eliminate the worry of being pulled into one of them? However, Beak Woon shakes her head at my words. That's nonsense. Do you think balancing is that simple? Unless you're anchored in at least 3 worlds, it's impossible. Stop being stubborn and accept the title. 3 worlds, huh? I ponder for a moment. Then I quickly come to a decision. Still, I will not accept the title. What? No matter which world I fall into, I will endure it. Now, if you'll excuse me. After bowing respectfully to sacred Master Beak Woon, I turn to leave White Jade Pavilion. The next moment, Tukwing, a tremendous impact strikes my back. If you insist on being stubborn, I will have no choice but to force the title onto you. I turn around with a frown. Are you saying you intend to try? Payet. A blinding pure white flash explodes from heavenly Lotus Mountain. I tense up, gathering my momentum. The next moment, the sacred master battle begins. Welwung. The moment I regain consciousness, I find myself in the Chaos Realm region of the Bright Cold Realm. This place, it's the opposite of the Heart Tribe's territory in the east. Beyond the Swiftwind Domain and Dead Earth Domain, I've arrived at the Chaos Realm in the west. Zhejiang. As soon as I come to my senses, an overwhelming weight presses down on me, and I am slammed straight into a spot within the Western Chaos Realm. In a corner filled with jade stones within the Chaos Realm. As I witness the entire area being grinded down by a massive attraction force, I slowly begin to stand. Crack. The weight on my shoulders is even heavier than the gravity of the star I briefly sat on when I fought Jang Ik. Jejiwak. The space around me distorts with overwhelming force, and a giant planet appears above me. It's the within heaven star that sacred Master Beak Woon bestowed upon me. Even though I personally explained everything and told you this was for your sake, you still refuse. Just accept it quietly. I apologize. However, this is something related to those above, so I cannot speak of it. I have no need for the title, so please take it back. I can't speak about anything related to the star vein eye. Just like with Jingli or the phenomena extinguishing mantra, I've experienced firsthand how painful it can be to carelessly reveal anything involving true immortals. That will not do. Pardon. Listen well, Seo Yunhyan of the human race. Kagagagugu. An immense power starts concentrating in the chaos realm. At the same time, the entering heaven star floating above me is trying to forcibly connect with me. You are my successor. Startled, I look up at the sky. In 600 years, no one has achieved the late integration stage with the cultivation of the heaven and earth tribes and reached the 5th stage of manifestation of the heart tribe. I've neither heard of nor seen such a being. Though your growth may be a bit slower compared to the golden divine, he focused solely on the heaven tribe's cultivation. In pure talent, you surpass the golden divine. There seems to be a misunderstanding. Whether it's a misunderstanding or not doesn't matter, as the results speak for themselves. Resisting the increasing pressure of the within heaven star, I struggle to prevent it from connecting with me. You surely have the potential to reach the sacred vessel stage. For that reason, you were born with the fate of becoming the sacred master of the bright cold realm after me. Thus, as the current sacred master of the bright cold realm, I have every reason to bind you to this realm as my successor. I don't even have time to respond. This is the sacred vessel stage. I grit my teeth as I barely withstand the pressure of the within heaven star. These are beings who control their own middle realm. Beings who, within their star system, are monsters that wield power close to omnipotence. The fact that I was instantly transported from heavenly Lotus Mountain to the Chaos Realm, and I'm now being crushed by an increasingly overwhelming pressure that I am unable to resist, is a display of the overwhelming disparity. Accept it, Seo Yun Hyun. If you become the sacred master, the human race will become the dominant race in the bright cold realm. The tall tree race who don't know their place and all they do is pollinate when bored could be burned as firewood by your people. The paired wings race as mounts, the fungal bone race as snacks, the rotting owl race as toys, and the fighting ghost race as foot rags. No one would dare to speak against you. I have no desire to do such things, nor any reason to. As the god of the bright cold realm, you can rule for thousands of years, fulfill the duties of a sacred master, and delve deeper into the power of attraction force, eventually becoming a true person. Of course, you'd need to find a successor eventually, but by then there will surely be promising ones among the esteemed ones of the bright cold realm. Rumble. The heaven and earth spiritual energy from the within heaven star descends upon me. From the moment I become connected to it, I will inevitably become the within heaven's esteemed one. If you dislike the name, you can change it once you become the sacred master. Who would dare oppose you? I never had any intention of accepting it in the first place. What meaning is there in changing it later? Are you so displeased with becoming my successor? If the title is not given, I will consider it. How arrogant. In that case, how about this? If you become the sacred master of the bright cold realm, you will be able to resolve your fundamental problem. Pardon? Your soul, isn't it hot? Beak Woon's tone softens, as if she's trying to persuade me. I've been watching your soul for a long time, the karmic fire burning hotly within, the authority of the judge in the form of flames. Aren't you suffering from that power? I can see it even now. Your soul trembles in pain upon pain. If you reach the realm where you can borrow the power of the bright cold realm, you will be able to rid your body of that fiery tribulation. How about it? Will you still refuse? I remain silent, and then I smile bitterly. It seems you have misunderstood. Oh, this thing burning inside me cannot be extinguished. Even if I become the sacred master of the bright cold realm, no matter what I do, it cannot be put out. Are you, who is merely an esteemed one, trying to teach me? You seem to be talking about the karmic fire. Certainly, in regards to normal authorities, the sacred master's words may be right. However, in regards to this case, there's no way to rid myself of the pain. What? I shout as I look up at the sky. Sacred Master, it seems you cannot even begin to guess my pain, the reason for my pain, or the nature of my pain. I have no intention of escaping this suffering. So please, stop forcing the position of Sacred Master upon me. You insolent. The next moment, I unleash a powerful surge of energy and soar toward the sky. Boing. The power of the canvas of myriad forms and connections, now truly united with me, flows into my sword. Accumulating dust. In the past, whenever I performed a technique, my body would always move along with it, because it became second nature. But after obtaining the subheart sword, I realized that if the strength of the heart directly connects to the strength of the body, there's no need to move the body. Starting from transcending peaks to transcending mountain ridge embedment, with all the techniques in between. Now, just by recalling the moves of severing mountain swordsmanship engraved in my heart, I can execute them all. Forms a mountain. Payet. The already fearsome technique of accumulating dust forms a mountain no longer has any preparatory movements. With just my intention, it shoots towards the star in the sky. Kyojujujujuduk. The sacred masters within heaven's star is split in half, and I smash through the star as I soar upward. I apologize, sacred master, but I will not become an esteemed one of the bright cold realm. You, Wu-Lung. Energy begins to concentrate in the sky. Then a very familiar scene unfolds. Jejeong. The sky splits in two. Simultaneously, Sacred Master Beak Wound's gaze envelops the chaos realm where I am, a sight reminiscent of the descent of the owner of heavenly punishment. Though it doesn't carry the same mind-crushing pressure as it did then, its appearance is eerily similar. Her intent can't be read. Come to think of it, it has always been like this. The hands and feet of the blood yin esteemed one. The esteemed ones I encountered in the lightning sacred sea. And now Sacred Master Beak Wound. None of their intent could be read. It may be that beings at the realm of an esteemed one, and above, when entering full combat readiness, become unreadable in terms of intent. But that doesn't mean they have no intent. When I stood face to face with Sacred Master Beak Wound earlier, I could read her intent to some degree. They too have a heart and they have emotions. Without a doubt. And if they have a heart, they can surely feel pain. I prepare for my counterattack and boldly lock eyes with Beak Wound's gaze. Beak Wound said that I am suffering from pain. She must have seen the karmic fire burning within me. But she misunderstood something. The karmic fire inside me has long since been extinguished. Then what is it that still burns within me, causing me suffering? Isn't it obvious? It's me. Strangely enough, ever since I encountered the owner of Great Mountain and the order was annihilated, the karmic fire was immediately extinguished. I don't know why, but it doesn't seem like the owner of Great Mountain extinguished it for me. I still can't tell what the conditions are for the karmic fire to go out. But one thing is certain. Even though the karmic fire is gone, I am still in pain. What now burns inside me is not the karmic fire. It's my canvas of myriad forms and connections. It is remembering the pain of the karmic fire and giving it to me. Thus, what is burning my soul now is not the karmic fire. This is my own guilt. As the sacred master of the bright cold realm, I command thee. She begins to exert her power. I raise my sword. At the summit of Heavenly Lotus Mountain, in the white jade pavilion, Beak Wound gazes off into the distance, staring at some far-off place. Crackle, track, crackle. Lightning spears embedded in her body flicker. Twitch. Her brow furrows slightly. In her consciousness, she feels the presence of Seo Yun Hyan in that distant place, clashing against her authority. Earthquakes and tsunamis are triggered. Volcanoes erupt and firestorms rain down. The entire surrounding region is transformed into a world of heat, like the core of a fixed star. However, Seo Yun Hyan is cutting through all the phenomena happening there, facing her head-on. A sacred master of the middle realm is akin to a world unto themselves. For that reason, whether it's a star system or a middle realm, a sacred master fears not even the lowest-ranked true immortal within the domain they rule. However, Beak Wound shows signs of unease. Regarding the phenomena extinguishing mantra, Beak Wound doesn't really expect Seo Yun Hyan to actually use it. Of course, he might use the phenomena extinguishing mantra when cornered. Therefore, while Beak Wound could have used Seo Yun Hyan's comrades or the human race to threaten him, she hasn't gone that far. However, even putting aside the phenomena extinguishing mantra, she cannot figure out what that ignorant, wicked human is hiding. I must make him a sacred master. Clench. A sacred master of places like the ancient force realm, the purple gold realm, the true devil realm, the nether ghost realm, or the astral realm will not do. I must bind him to bright cold. Grind, grind. As if recalling the nightmare from 120,000 years ago, she grits her teeth while looking at the lightning spears embedded in her body. Even 120,000 years ago, there was such an existence. A supreme genius from the ominous world. Beak Wound judges that Seo Yun Hyan is of the same kind as that supreme genius. I cannot allow another massacre like the one 120,000 years ago. Even if he wreaks havoc, if I can confine him to the bright cold realm, I will be able to save countless lives. She recalls the supreme genius from the head realm 120,000 years ago. The golden divine Yang Sujin. The human race cultivator who, at first glance, had an outwardly affable demeanor and polite manners. And now, Seo Yun Hyan overlaps with the image of Yang Sujin at that time in her mind. The human who once seemed so amiable and polite that turned into a terrifying slaughter devil, sweeping across the entire heavenly domain. Recalling the time when all sacred masters and true persons of the sun and moon heavenly domain had to unite just to face Yang Sujin's ring finger, Beak Wound trembles. Even if I have to sacrifice my position as sacred master, Even if I have to turn the bright cold realm into hell, I must confine him. Despite everything she suffered at the hands of Yang Sujin, she does not hate him. After all, Yang Sujin's atrocities were not entirely his fault. Having cultivated the attraction force of fate and taken on the role of sacred master, she understands. Life is something that cannot be controlled by a mortal's will. Thus, Baek-woon believes that if someone becomes a slaughter devil, it's because fate has cast them in such a role, and it's not entirely the slaughter devil's sin. And in Baek-woon's eyes, Seo Yoon-hyan's behavior more or less resembles Yang Sujin's. Therefore, Seo Yoon-hyan is highly likely to walk a similar fate to Yang Sujin. I must bind him. Recalling that nightmare, Baek-woon swears to do whatever it takes to narrow the scope of Seo Yoon-hyan's massacre. That is my duty, entrusted to me by them, when I took on the position of sacred master. Wo-wing. The wings that have appeared around Baek-woon shine brightly. Give up accepted. Ch Warlarek. Behind her, a black ancient paper floats into view. On the black ancient paper are written the titles of countless esteemed ones. You shall inevitably become the sacred master of the bright cold realm. Her gaze pierces through tens of millions of li, locking onto Seo Yoon-hyan in the chaos realm. She imposes her will, beginning to intensify the authority of the bright cold realm onto Seo Yoon-hyan. I shall definitely make it so. At that moment, Baek-woon sees something appear in Seo Yoon-hyan's hand. It's a pitch-black banner. From Seo Yoon-hyan's 7 orifices, the power of darkness flows down like a river. Flowers seem to grow from the banner, only to soon morph into grotesque monsters. Rolling. The grotesque creatures, seemingly devoid of reason, swivel their eyes, glancing nervously at Seo Yoon-hyan who summoned them. The next moment, Seo Yoon-hyan breathes power into the banner. All the monsters begin to flee in unison. But they are caught by Seo Yoon-hyan's attraction force one by one, crushed on the spot, and absorbed into the banner. The horrific screams of the monsters echo from within the banner held by Seo Yoon-hyan. Flinching. Baek-woon momentarily foresees a dark future and unleashes her full force in a single strike aimed at Seo Yoon-hyan. A brilliant white light, as if from a heavenly tribulation, strikes Seo Yoon-hyan from the sky. But the pitch-black darkness devours the light and advances, striking Baek-woon's eyes that gaze down upon Seo Yoon-hyan. Baek-woon trembles in place as if struck by lightning. Seo Yoon-hyan's voice resonates through the plane of soul, crossing tens of millions of li to reach her ears. Extinguishing realm Chinese letter, demonic Chinese letter, cursed Chinese letter, banner Chinese letter. Seo Yoon-hyan's agony, evolved through the 5 elements blood curse banner and the black ghost curse banner, has now transformed to the point where it can collapse an entire realm by itself. Demonic devils manifested from countless heart demons. These demonic devils, captured and compressed into the form of a banner, have become a monstrous flag. That is the extinguishing realm demonic curse banner. And then Baek-woon begins to scream. Hueya. She clutches her head and screams from the heights of Heavenly Lotus Mountain. This is. As befitting a veteran cultivator who has cultivated for hundreds of thousands of years, Baek-woon instantly analyzes the methodology of the extinguishing realm demon curse banner and traces its origin. A seeding lightning curse banner, golden divine's tortured devilish art, he evolved it into something like this. Grind. Baek-woon grits her teeth and steels her heart. Just as I thought, even though he pretends to be normal like Yang Sujin, he's no different. A wicked breed. I must bind him to the bright cold realm. Her entire body trembles as she fights to suppress the pain with desperate willpower. Fortunately, the distance is great, so the full pain didn't transmit. I need to counterattack. However, in that single instant, when she was struck by Seo Yoon-hyan's extinguishing realm demon curse banner and lost her focus. In that fleeting pause, when she briefly stopped her relentless assault on Seo Yoon-hyan. That moment determined the outcome between the two. Payet. What? Seo Yoon-hyan appears before Baek-woon's eyes. He traversed tens of millions of li in a single step, through the plane of soul. Baek-woon flinches. It isn't because of Seo Yoon-hyan. It's because of the other man that Seo Yoon-hyan brought with him during that brief moment, from the cedar wood grove of the Heart Tribe. It's Jeon Myo-hoon, crackling with lightning. In another instant, before Baek-woon can react, Seo Yunhyan brings Jian Myohun right in front of her and places the spear embedded in Baekwun's body into Jian Myohun's hand. Come to think of it, I was curious. Wait. What happens if the successor of the Golden Divine wields this? Jian Myohun, understanding Seo Yunhyan's will, begins to draw forth his power. Don't do it. The spears embedded in Baekwun's body all simultaneously start to glow red. Nu Uwo. Kururururung. Red lightning rages violently. The 7 lightning spears embedded in Baekwun's body all simultaneously emit a red glow and begin to thrash about. Baekwun's eyes roll back as if about to faint, trembling all over as she sits on her throne. If she were human, she'd probably be foaming at the mouth. Quadajijik. She shakes violently, unable to even scream, looking as if she's trapped in a prison of red lightning. SSS, stop, you please. Seeing her state, it seems like bringing Jian Myohun here has worked better than using my Extinguishing Realm demonic curse banner. Can you pull it out, Jian Myohun? I ask him through heart language. Thanks to having reached void shattering, the accuracy of heart language has improved significantly, making it almost indistinguishable from a regular voice transmission. He holds the lightning spear for a moment before shaking his head and replying internally. It's impossible. I don't know who embedded it, but even with my authority, I can't pull it out. The lightning is not cooperating with me. In fact, it's mocking me. It's astonishing, regardless of what kind of lighting. Even a heavenly tribulation usually becomes as tame as a lamb in front of Jian Myohun. For the lightning spears left by Yang Sujin to resist like this, they must possess an extraordinarily strong ego. What to do? Originally, I planned to have Jian Myohun threaten her through the lightning spears, then pull them out as a bargaining chip to slowly persuade her. I assumed she would also want the spears removed. If she, like me, is bound by the laws of those above and has to follow the rules, removing them would be a benefit surpassing those rules. I intended to heal her from the lightning spears, but this won't work, then what? Clicking my tongue inwardly, I examine my own body. My body is a mess. That short confrontation with the sacred master has left my entire domain in near ruin. If the plan to embed the Extinguishing Realm demonic curse banner into Baekwun had failed, my entire domain would have collapsed, leaving me in a semi-dead state, and I would have been forcibly become the within heaven's esteemed one. Fortunately, the attributes worked in my favor. There's no way someone in the star-shattering stage could beat a sacred vessel's sacred master under normal circumstances. Not only is there an overwhelming difference in cultivation level, a sacred master also borrows the power of a middle realm or a star system. Within this area, they are practically equivalent to a true immortal. There's a reason why most esteemed ones in the ancient force realm were purged by a single sacred master. From the moment I first encountered her power, I gave up on directly confronting sacred master Baekwun. From the beginning, my plan hinged on somehow bringing Jian Myohun here and having him touch the spears embedded in her body to have a chance of victory. If I couldn't even get that chance, the battle was already lost. I look at Baekwun, who is almost being fried within the red lightning, and ask. Originally, I intended to persuade you in a more moderate manner, but it seems that will be difficult. Hence, I'll ask you in this state. Though I feel sorry for her, someone who has risen to the position of sacred master should be able to endure this level of pain. Will you rescind the conferral of the esteemed one title? Guguguk Argaguguk. Are you saying you will refuse to answer? Arshiguguk Urguk. I will ask one more time. Uwithada. Will you? As I read her intent through the lightning, I continue speaking. Rescind. The lightning blazes brightly, but within it, Baekwun's intent is clear. The conferral. A definite refusal. Of the esteemed one. Quadajijik. To an outsider, it might appear as though I'm cruelly torturing a powerless woman with electricity and intimidating her. But as I confront her true thoughts here, I understand clearly. She is telling me, with great resolve, that she will hold on to the very end. Though her mouth may scream, at our level of cultivation, we can communicate effectively without relying on words spoken aloud. Even amidst the lightning, Baekwun's eyes gradually become accustomed to the pain, expressing her strong will. Title. Hey. Padajidajidajidajek. Inside the prison of lightning, she starts to show a strange reaction. Have ladia. Quaching. She extends her hand toward me. Just that movement alone punctures a part of the lightning prison, and beak wounds withered, branch-like hand extends from within. Zuwang. Traction force emanates from her hand, twisting the surrounding spacetime. In an instant, her hand touches my shoulder. Let us share this feeling. Though. Wulung. Through her hand, a crimson curse spell is cast onto me, transferring a portion of beak wounds pain into my body. A curse that pushes one's own suffering onto others. Seo Yunhayan. Don't stop. Jian Myohun, taken aback, tries to stop, but I loudly shout back through heart language and instead laugh. So you want to take this to the end? Honestly, while I felt a bit sorry for her, I thought I had a chance to win the moment I first embedded the Extinguishing Realm demonic curse banner. But it seems I misjudged the situation. At the level of a sacred master, one would likely develop some resistance to this level of pain. If that's the case, I too will steel my resolve. TSDS. Curses flow out from my entire body. I burst out in mental speech, grabbing her wrist tightly. My shoulder, don't touch it so carelessly. Parrot. Wujujujuduk. I transform into the Ghost King with 21 heads, and I begin to pry beak wounds hand off my shoulder. Wujujuduk. But it's heavy. This is crazy. Is this really the strength of a heaven tribe cultivator on the verge of death? The sheer physical strength flowing from beak wound's frail arm surpasses the power of my heaven and earth dual cultivation in the late integration stage. Only by wrapping myself in the all-heaven sword and adding the sword's strength am I barely able to peel her thin arm off. I once read a record from Lofty Dragon's storage scroll about an integration stage cultivator who was beaten up by Lofty Dragon true person in human form, having their domain shattered and almost dying. Now I finally understand that if someone were at the true person level, it might really be possible to kill an integration stage cultivator purely with physical strength. Moreover, I heard rumors that Sacred Master Beak Woon was originally a true person, who, due to some incident, lowered her cultivation realm to enter the bright cold realm. Her physical strength might at least be on par with Lofty Dragon true person in human form. At this rate, I'll lose for sure. Therefore, I need to resort to drastic measures. I use one hand to pull her arm off my shoulder. Of course, the pain she's enduring floods into me through the hand holding her arm, but it's bearable. Then with my other hand, I release a curse spell. The Extinguishing Realm demonic curse banner emits a sinister light as it forms above my hand. A black mass of something resembling flesh. Inside, countless mouths and eyes writhe grotesquely. Grasping the banner's staff, I grip its end in reverse, and then shove the black banner into Sacred Master Beak Wound's stomach. Jade. An unrecognizable scream echoes through chi, soul, and fate, resonating through all three planes. The same scream that the true persons let out. It means that Sacred Master Beak Wound is experiencing a truly unbearable pain. QLRG. Through her hand, the pain I pushed into her comes surging back to me. What remains now is a battle of endurance, who can withstand the pain better. Let's see who wins, Sacred Master. Even amidst the agony, I show a crazed smile as I drive the banner even deeper. Dojujujujudo. Madness. The entirety of the bright cold realm begins to shake violently. I can feel the Sacred Master Beak Wound going mad. Right now, because of Yang Sujin's legacy, it feels as though there's nothing she can do to us directly, who stand right in front of her. However, due to her seizures, I can sense earthquakes, tsunamis, and disasters erupting all over the bright cold realm. I immediately sense earthquakes and volcanic eruptions occurring beneath Heavenly Lotus Mountain. Furthermore, the attraction force of the bright cold realm is recklessly stretching out to the astral realm, pulling in fragments of wandering stars toward it. Meteors are raining everywhere, and the vestiges of the interdimensional void are entering the bright cold realm. Wu-wung. Then I feel my mind becoming hazy from the ensuing madness. Kagagagugu. Up and down reverse. Heaven and earth invert. The sky above shifts below. The earth below flips above. It feels as though the screams of the countless bright cold realm inhabitants are ringing in my ears. It's not just a simple reversal of up and down, gravity remains the same. In other words, the sky has come to the place where one should stand on the ground, but gravity stays the same. What happens then? Seo Yunhyan, do something. Jian Myohoon shouts desperately, while I break out in a cold sweat. The entire bright cold realm has flipped upside down. All the living beings of the bright cold realm are falling toward the sky. Fortunately, the vast majority of the bright cold realm inhabitants are cultivators, so they can fly, preventing a disaster. But even so, a terrifying thought grips me. If this continues, the middle realm might be destroyed. Quaran Quaruviran. As heavenly tribulation falls from the ground, the entire bright cold realm is instantly engulfed in a sea of lightning. Quadjijik. If it were just normal lightning, there would be no reason to worry in a place where Jian Myohoon stands. But I realize what the sacred master Beek Woon is doing. This crazy heavenly tribulations are now descending all over the bright cold realm. In each and every tribulation, images of Jian Myohoon and me torturing sacred master Beek Woon are being transmitted across the entire bright cold realm. The power of the heavenly tribulation itself isn't so great. Even someone at the core formation stage can endure it, but just brushing against it reveals the current situation. In other words, I'm now being publicized across the entire bright cold realm as an evil breed torturing the sacred master. Seo Yunhyan. Jian Myohoon looks at me with an expression as if he's about to lose his mind. However, I show a bright expression instead. Right now, she's pleading for salvation from other living beings. In other words, she's reached the point where her mental strength has been pushed to its limits, and she's now begging for help from others. Just a little more, put in more strength, Jian Myohoon. With fighting will surging in all 21 of my heads, I grip the flagpole even tighter. This is not yet my full strength, sacred master. Severing mountain swordsmanship. 32nd move. Subheart sword. Transcending mountain ridge embedment. Qiyang. The sword image formed in my heart essence plunges deep into the soul of sacred master Beek Woon. As long as she thinks of me, her heart will be endlessly cut away. From now on, even the last of her mental strength shall be sliced away. Pariet. A blinding white light surges. The next moment. Snap. I feel cold sweat trickling down. All phenomena has stopped. This is a frozen world. In this place, only I and the being before me can move. You have one. I look at the figure before me. What is this? A beautiful woman dressed in a white robe, with patches of skin resembling tree bark exposed here and there, and branches sprouting from her head. Sacred Master Beek Woon. Her appearance at her prime stands before me. She clicks her tongue with a lamenting expression and speaks. Vile breed, do as you please. Thanks to you, I've had to unleash the power I had saved, and I can't even begin to fathom the immense loss I've suffered. Do whatever you want. I won't grant you the title of esteemed one, so just disappear from my sight. Though she appears beautiful as if fully recovered, it seems she has lost the authority to instantly expel me across the bright cold realm, merely telling me to disappear, without actually doing so. I am grateful for the sacred master's mercy. I return to my human form and bow respectfully before her. She turns her back to me with an irritated expression and says, I am no longer a sacred master. It is only then that I realize what she has done. By temporarily lowering her realm by one stage, she created an incarnation that escaped my power. However, considering this insane authority that briefly stopped time in the bright cold realm, it's clear she only became an esteemed one, temporarily. In a few years, she will surely regain her realm as a sacred master. Get lost from my sight, sword devil. And so, after reaching the realm of an esteemed one, I gained official recognition for the title of Sword Devil, and was able to avoid being granted a formal title as an esteemed one. Pajajik. I quietly return to the side of the throne, and watch Beek Woon break the lightning prison that was triggered by Jian Myohoon's touch. I bow my head to her. Even though today's unfortunate events occurred due to our differing interests, please know that I bear no particular grudge against the sacred master. As the lightning prison shatters, the throne where Beek Woon had just been is revealed. There lies Beek Woon's shell, dried and shriveled like an old tree, the one that had been confronting us just moments ago. It seems like she momentarily shed her skin, like a golden cicada escaping its husk, and evaded Jeon Myohoon's attack. She reabsorbs the shell and pushes Jeon Myohoon towards me without even glancing in my direction. She must have temporarily hidden the lightning spear in her body's dimension. I realized that confronting her in her current state would make her even more difficult to handle. Of course, judging from her condition, it seems she doesn't particularly want to continue fighting me either, but pushing further could truly be dangerous. After offering her a respectful bow, I lift Jeon Myohoon in the frozen world and turn my back. At that moment, I hear Baekwoon's voice from behind. "Yu-Oh was looking for you. I received contact when you drove that star-shattering monster into the astral realm. She wants to invite you. Since her invitations are rare, you should visit the Nether Ghost Realm at an appropriate time." When I turn around, Baekwoon is already gone. TSDSDSDSS. When I trace the energy she left behind, it seems she has already entered somewhere deep within Heavenly Lotus Mountain. Parrot. At the same time, the white jade pavilion I am standing on starts to dissipate into a mass of white light and scatters. Flash. When I regain my senses, the world is already moving again. Chua. It seems that the white jade pavilion itself is a special authority of Baekwoon. Once again, I offer a respectful bow and take a step forward. Payet. Placing Jeon Myohoon into my domain and rising to the plane of soul, the world changes. If the plane of Chi is the ordinary world we know, then from the plane of soul onward, the world becomes vastly different. Clouds, Chinese letter, are scattered everywhere. The colors of the clouds that fill heaven, earth, and the four directions constantly shift. I gaze at the clouds where I'm standing. My current location is Heavenly Lotus Mountain and its surroundings. The clouds near Heavenly Lotus Mountain have a bright red hue. It's the tall tree race. The tall tree race, sacred master Baekwoon, is probably no different from a goddess. Seeing their goddess being tortured by a madman with 21 heads in front of them, it's no wonder they're enraged. "I'm sorry, sacred master." I feel a sense of guilt towards Baekwoon and the tall tree race. Among the hues of the tall tree race, about 1/20 of them display a sticky combination of pale pink and black, likely belonging to those who practice some unusual methods. Still, the vast majority of the tall tree race is clearly furious, as evidenced by the vivid red intent they emanate. Even though I did my best to avoid entanglements with those above, Baekwoon's honor was tarnished as a result. I will likely need to find an appropriate time later to apologize and offer compensation. I'll have to find the right time to make amends. With that thought in mind, I tread forward in this world of clouds. Step. In the higher dimensions, even small movements cover much greater distances than they would in the lower ones. What a strange feeling, being completely in the plane of soul. The countless clouds that appear before me. Each and every particle of those clouds is the emotions of a living being. Thinking back, after defeating Kang Min-hee and becoming an esteemed one, I immediately went into seclusion to stabilize my realm. Once I emerged from seclusion, I almost immediately fought Baekwoon. Because of that, this is practically the first time I've had the chance to study my current realm. A person's heart is much like the clouds. It seems to have form, yet it does not. It obscures the sun, blocking out the light. It brings rain that fosters life, and sends down lightning to judge the earth. When gathered in great numbers, it becomes a storm that shakes the world. Come to think of it, the integration stage cultivation formulae can all be interpreted in connection to clouds. Rain, sunlight, heat, cold, wind, time. Rain represents the clouds gathering and the sky closing. Sunlight represents the clouds dispersing and the sky opening. Heat is when the open sky remains for a long time. Cold is when the closed sky remains for a long time. Wind is the force that regulates all of these phenomena. And all these changes combine to create time. In the integration stage, the Dharma treasure created by merging with one's domain is called the refining void Dharma treasure. And this refining void Dharma treasure becomes partially connected to one's heart essence. Heart essence is ultimately a cloud. I see. As I grasp the connection between the refining void Dharma treasure, the integration stage formula, and the plane of soul, I feel my understanding of the cultivation realm itself deepens. The integration stage formula and the refining void Dharma treasure are interconnected. Most cultivators at the integration stage would understand the formula of rain, sunlight, heat, cold, wind, and time as a formula that applies the phenomena of heaven and earth to one's domain. But now I understand. This is not about applying the phenomena of heaven and earth to one's domain. Rather, it's a formula that makes you realize that the phenomena of heaven and earth already exist within your own heart. I see. I have grasped one crucial truth. Was I truly such a fool? Although it feels like a new understanding, it's one I keep realizing over and over again. But this time, it doesn't end with simply me being the fool. Including me, all cultivators in this world are ultimately just fools. In a past life, I thought I had fully mastered the divine abilities of the 6 formulas. But I hadn't. I hadn't even glimpsed a fragment of the divine ability of the integration stage. From the integration stage onwards, the convenient shortcut of raising one's realm through breakthrough before understanding no longer works. I always wondered why so few reach the star-shattering stage. Was it because of this? Step. I walk a few steps and traverse tens of millions of li through the plane of soul to arrive at the Heart Tribe territory. The clouds in the Heart Tribe territory have a slightly different form compared to those in other territories. Each and every particle composing the clouds in the Heart Tribe territory is glowing. I look at the countless glowing cloud particles. That's the pinnacle, and the 3 flowers gather at the summit. Souls that have just entered the threshold of intent. These souls are moving more actively within the clouds. That's 5 energies converging to the origin. Those who have attained consciousness by acknowledging the boundlessness of intent. The changes in the colors of their souls seem more natural. The countless clouds I see in the plane of soul are part of a collective unconscious, and when certain souls radiate strong emotions, those emotions would spread and affect others. However, souls at the level of 5 energies converging to the origin and above are slower to be affected by the collective unconscious, and even when they are, the changes in their colors are much more natural. That's entering heavens, the first stage of manifestation. By my standards, the souls of those who reached entering heavens are quite peculiar. They're rotating. The souls of those who reached entering heaven are spinning vigorously among the grains of clouds in the plane of soul. Through that rotational force, I see them drawing power from the plane of soul down to the lower planes. Is that treading heavens? I observe the particles of clouds, which are spinning with increasingly greater force. Some of the cloud particles spin so powerfully that their force affects the surrounding clouds. I come to understand the principle of heart language gain from entering heavens and treading heavens. I see. Heart language is the act of pulling nearby clouds within the sphere of one's own rotational force. And tribulating heavens. Well then, I look at the clouds that have reached tribulating heavens. The ones called the 3rd stage of manifestation. Kurururung. The nightmares of the heaven and earth tribes, known to number only 10,000 among the entire Heart Tribe. I see. I fully grasp how the power of a Heart Tribe at the 3rd stage of manifestation takes the form of heavenly tribulation. The soul of a Heart Tribe who has risen to tribulating heavens takes the shape of a massive helix, Chinese letter, through its rotational force, pulling and converging the surrounding cloud particles. Furthermore, a Heart Tribe at the 3rd stage of manifestation is no longer a single cloud particle, but a cloud mass, formed by the merging of the collective unconsciousness. Why does a heavenly tribulation become added when a cultivator opposes a martial artist of tribulating heavens? A heavenly tribulation is heavenly punishment. Heavenly punishment falls only upon those who have committed acts of defying the heavens. Acts of defying the heavens are actions that distort the principles of the world, actions that alter the fates of countless beings. Martial artists of tribulating heavens complete themselves by embracing the hearts of countless beings within their own heart. Thus, to oppose a martial artist at tribulating heavens means to oppose the hearts of countless beings, and to those who defy such an existence, heavenly punishment falls. And those must be Jang Ik's disciples. I gaze at the souls of the disciples of first step before the throne. Each of their souls is a massive mass of clouds. From within those masses of clouds, I see a faint illusion. No, it's not an illusion. That is the first step before the Throne Heart Tribe's domain. Just as a cultivator at the integration stage possesses their own integrated Tao domain, A heart tribe at the first step before the throne manifests their own heart essence domain within the plane of soul. So then I reflect upon my own form. In the plane of soul, my form is a light shining pure white. I see. The clouds gather and condense, and at their center a light begins to emerge. During the time of seated detachment, entering hope, I must have appeared like the disciples of Jang Ik, with illusions flickering within a massive cloud mass. But now that illusion has entered within this light. This light, as it connects with countless others, will gradually grow brighter until it eventually shines like the sun. I understand. I look alternately at the planes of Qi and fate from within the plane of soul. The plane of Qi is explosions. Explosions of countless time and space, creating each moment and flowing them away in an ever-changing world. The plane of soul is clouds. Clouds of ashes and dust left behind after the explosions. The plane of fate is light. Dust gathers and gathers until it eventually becomes a star in the sky, a star that shines brightly and illuminates the dark void. I now understand why Jang Ik, despite not even reaching the peak of second step before the throne, defined the realm up to the third step before the throne. One day, Jang Ik must have thought that when this light reaches the stars in the plane of fate, it will become possible to twist fate even with the power of the heart tribe. The correlation between the realms of the heart tribe and the realms of the heaven-earth tribes is quite precise. I now understand what Jang Ik saw. At the same time, I understand how the world is layered. The source river exists as a shadow of the clouds of the non-living, among the clouds in the plane of soul, under the light of the plane of fate, layered upon the plane of Qi and shadowing above it. The underworld is draped and layered beneath the light as the shadow of the clouds of the living, among the clouds. The eastern heaven flower field lies below both the source river and the underworld, as the shadow of the plane of Qi itself. The shadow of the interdimensional void is not visible, but it must exist somewhere. Is it cast as a shadow through the light of the plane of fate? The shadows each exert their own force of attraction. It really could have been dangerous. Had I fully risen to the plane of soul with only nether perception, I have a feeling I would have been instantly sucked into the underworld, the moment I stepped on the underworld's shadow. Since I am stepping on both the shadow of the underworld and the shadow of the source river at the same time, and still belong to this world, I haven't been pulled in either direction. As I suddenly become aware of that fact, I simultaneously realize something chilling. Wait. Why must the titles of the bright cold realm esteemed ones include the characters for light Chinese letter and heaven Chinese letter? Shudder. If previously I simply refused out of discomfort, it's only after internalizing my realm that I realize how fortunate I had been to reject Baek-woon's name. The plane of fate, which symbolizes the heavens, is light itself from the perspective of the heart tribe. If that's the case, doesn't that mean that the heavens and light are essentially the same existence? I turn around. Heavenly Lotus Mountain, where Baek-woon resides. There I can see Baek-woon's soul. Her soul is being intensely illuminated by light descending from the heavens. In the plane of soul, I look towards the plane of fate that is filled with light, and I instinctively feel a chill creeping into my chest. Let's not think about it. I exhale a sigh, avoiding further glances at the plane of fate. In hindsight, I should have realized it earlier. To see color Chinese letter means that light Chinese letter must be present. Without light, color ultimately has no meaning and is merely black. I quickly adjust my mind, erasing all thoughts of the light. If I think about it too long, those above might notice. Step. I take another step down from the plane of soul. I'm back in the familiar cedar wood grove. I empty my mind of all the complex truths like the plane of fate, the source river, the underworld, and the eastern heaven flower field, and instead collect the insights I gained from the plane of soul. The power of the heart tribe draws in the hearts of others. Then, is it an act of devouring the souls of others? No, it's not. As a heart tribe, what we draw in is not their soul but their heart. A person's heart is never completed by their own alone. Just as a person cannot exist solely as an individual, the stronger the heart tribe member becomes, the more they complete their heart essence through the hearts of many. The reason I couldn't reach entering heavens for several years while standing next to Kim Young-hoon. Even though Kim Young-hoon told me, it's already within you, that wasn't quite true. Even if it was within me, without Kim Young-hoon, I wouldn't have been able to attain it. The heart tribe completes itself by drawing in the hearts of others. The countless people who gave their hearts to the heart tribe, helping to complete the heart tribe's heart essence, also gain the possibility of reaching a higher realm just by being in the presence of a higher realm heart tribe. In other words, the path of a martial artist cannot be completed alone. It must be completed with the presence of a higher person who stands ahead. It turns out Hyung Nim was the strange one for entering heavens on his own. I give a wry smile in the direction of the one who had told me in the distant past to swing. The clouds of the heart tribe territory, though I referred to them as hearts, are likely closer to moments. The essence of lightning is the moment. The essence of the heart is also the moment. Our lives are composed of countless moments. These moments connect together and ultimately form our lives. And to fully repent, enlighten repentant enlightenment, and understand that life. That is the very essence of martial arts Chinese letter. Payet. As I grasp the essence of martial arts, I feel the formula of time in my integrated Tao domain fully activate. I've understood time. As I place Jian Myung-hoon, who has exhausted all his energy after battling sacred master Beek Woon, down beside me, I look around Cedar Wood Grove. I understand clearly. The fastest way to complete the integrated Tao domain is not breakthrough before understanding, but understanding before breakthrough. I must fully understand my own heart. Therefore, I'll need to face the remaining 4. Recalling the feeling I had when Jiang Chang died, I make up my mind to seek out the remaining 4 of Jiang Ik's disciples. As soon as I appear in Cedar Wood Grove, Jiang Ik's 21 disciples and Kim Young-hoon quickly step forward in front of me. Esteemed one, just what is this situation? Ryo HWA asks me in bewilderment, and I briefly explain the situation to them. So in other words, you fought with the sacred master because you refused the title of esteemed one. I awkwardly nod. I apologize. However, it was an important matter regarding me, so it happened that way. At my words, they all exchange startled looks and then give a small, hollow laugh. We understand for now. However, because of what the esteemed one has done, a few problems have arisen. What kind of problems? I ask cautiously, and Ryo HWA of the flower plant race speaks up. First, the Heaven Tribe's intelligence-gathering power is a problem. With their unique skills in divination and foresight, they've already learned that the esteemed one belongs to the Heart Tribe. As a result, countless members of the Heaven Tribe and Earth Tribe are currently preparing to attack Cedar Wood Grove. Normally, they wouldn't dare attack because of the heaven-collapsing esteemed one's reputation, but with the sacred master being bested, they've all lost their reason. You mentioned a few problems. What else is there? The vestiges. Even before Ryo HWA finishes speaking, a large creature swoops in from afar and begins bombarding beams of light onto Cedar Wood Grove. Bong bong bong. Korvirung. Fortunately, third-stage masters of the Heart Tribe step up and scatter heavenly tribulation in unison, causing the monster's body to explode instantly. But I instinctively realize that there are more vestiges like that one out there. The vestiges the sacred master had been holding back from attacking the bright cold realm are now invading in full force. These vestiges have the trait of devouring the flow of heaven and earth spiritual energy, so for now, they will start by attacking the stable realm, however. As more of them arrive, the chances of them attacking us will increase. I really have caused quite a mess. The reason I attempted to draw out Beek Woon's lightning spear while having a conversation with her wasn't because I was being foolish. It's because the role the sacred master plays is significant. It's fine. It hasn't been just once or twice that the heaven-collapsing esteemed one overturned the heaven and earth tribes. However, since the esteemed one has started this, it would be appreciated if you could also protect Cedar Wood Grove. Of course, it's something I must do, but before that I have a request to make of you. Although the Supreme Council normally only follows the orders of the heaven-collapsing esteemed one, given the current situation, if the esteemed one's orders are not unreasonable, we will follow. Please, don't hesitate to give commands instead of requests. I offer them my gratitude and deliver my request. First, this may sound abrupt, but one of my comrades is currently suffering from the curse of heavenly penalty and is on the brink of death. I would like you to find a way to lift that curse. Kim Young-hoon nods and answers in their place. We've been paying quite a bit of attention to finding a cure for Miss Buck's curse here in Cedar Wood Grove. However, even with nearby spiritual herbs, spiritual elixirs, and healing-oriented manifestations, nothing has worked. In that case, I ask that you venture into the territory of the heaven and earth tribes to investigate further. Pardon? At my words, the Supreme Council of the Heart Tribe looks at me as if I've gone mad. Well, to be fair, asking the Supreme Council of the Heart Tribe to do something like this is pretty much the same as telling them to go off and die. But I continue explaining my plan to them. Please listen carefully, my senior brothers and sisters. I intend to use you all as my terminals, Chinese letter, Chinese letter. What? Seeing is believing. Without a word, I temporarily connect their consciousness with mine through the wonderfully mysterious, innate heart canon. Though brief, what I perceive, to some extent, is transmitted to them as well. I draw the colorless glass sword, half closing my eyes as I settle into my stance. With my breathing, the heaven and earth spiritual energy in the surroundings begins to be drawn toward me. Kagagugu. I contemplate the integrated Tao domain within me. I contemplate the heart essence domain of my soul. I contemplate my own essence, energy, and spirit. And in the next moment, I swing. I'll kill you, kill, 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 filthy human race heart tribe beggar. In the tall tree race territory. Within a castle there. Four-axis stage, tall tree clansman is weeping sap from their eyes and shouting furiously. And it isn't just that. The vast majority of the masters in the tall tree race territory are moving frantically while spewing their anger. Quarvirung. A gigantic monster plummets from the sky. It's a vestige of the interdimensional void. Quagagak. The four-axis stage cultivator of the tall tree race hurls a wooden spear towards a vestige of equal realm. Gurgle, gurgle, twang. The wooden spear grows inside the vestige, sprouting branches that pierce through its body, causing the vestige to explode. Of course, the exploding vestige doesn't die immediately, and instead transforms into smaller, weaker vestiges. However, those kinds of vestiges are fortunately easily handled by the heavenly being stage tall tree race who rush in to finish them off. Huaya, the sacred master, that human race, that filthy, ugly, trash-like human race who's not only a heart tribe spy but also a nether ghost realm spy. That bastard defiled my sacred master, my sacred master. The four-axis stage tall tree race keeps screaming as they tear through the vestiges. My sacred master. It was my sacred master. I admired her first. I was first. Though the four-axis tall tree race continues fiercely fighting the vestiges, their strength is gradually waning. And then at that moment, Pugwag, piercing through the clouds in the sky, 50 integration stage vestiges appear. The four-axis tall tree race member, along with countless others within the castle, look up at the sky with eyes full of despair. Just then, with a world-shaking burst of light, heaven and earth tremble. At the same time, the eyes of the tall tree race widen in disbelief. Everyone there sees it. A colossal sword energy, large enough to cover the sky, sweeps away all the integration stage vestiges in an instant. The tall tree race, sensitive to reading celestial energy, quickly traces the origin of the sword energy through the sky. And terror spreads across their eyes. From the Heart Tribe territory, it flew all the way here. In the Paired Wings race territory. There, an integration stage grand cultivator of the Paired Wings race, who has just barely managed to win after a fierce battle against 3 integration stage vestiges, is staring blankly at the sky. Grand Cultivator Beak Myung looks up at the sky with dazed eyes. 30 integration stage vestiges. Haha, is today the day the Paired Wings race ends? He coughs dryly and glances at his own body. Damn it, my body isn't even fully healed. Even if I go down with them, how many can I take with me? Just then, before Beak Myung can even react, from an unfathomably distant location, a massive sword energy shoots through like an arrow, wiping out all 30 of the integration stage vestiges in one strike. Grand Cultivator Beak Myung stares in disbelief, reading the celestial and earthly energies. As a heaven and earth dual cultivation practitioner, Beak Myung possesses vision from both sides, allowing him to read more information than other grand cultivators. Because of this, he manages to track the origin of the sword energy in an instant. HH Heart Tribe territory. Beak Myung's pupils tremble with unease. His wings begin to quiver uncontrollably. H-Heart Tribe, Sword Energy, Enormous, HH, Huyue, Jjang Hyung, Elder Jang, please spare me, I was wrong, I won't boil and eat the small green race as soup anymore, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Huyue. As if some terrible memory has been triggered, Beak Myung starts flailing and screaming into the empty air. Not just the tall tree race and paired wings race, but also the fighting ghost race, fungal bone race, and rotting owl race. Even in the skies above the major races of the Earth tribe, the same massive sword energy flies in and sweeps away the vestiges attacking their territories. The Heaven tribe reads the celestial energy, the Earth tribe tracks the earthly energy, and everyone in the bright cold realm discovers where the sword energy originates from. From Cedarwood Grove of the Heart tribe territory. From there, someone has sent a sword energy across tens of millions of li to assist them. Kwang, in the true Dragon Alliance of the Earth tribe. As one of the administrators of the serving command arc and a dragon king who has recently risen to the integration stage, Jiu Ryon trembles while battling the vestiges in the sky as she recalls the sword energy that just wiped out hundreds of vestiges in an instant. What in the world? Ch Wararara. She tracks the origin of the sword energy by following the flow of heaven and earth spiritual energy. The Heart tribe territory, but that's at least hundreds of millions of li away. Her face turns pale. Just who could it be? In her mind, she recalls the evil spirit torturing sacred master Beak Woon, broadcasted just moments ago through heavenly tribulation. The utterly insane demon spirit with 21 heads. From the information sacred master Beak Woon transmitted, Jiu Ryon and countless others realized that the demon spirit is a heart tribe. Did that demon spirit just help us? Shuddering, Jiu Ryon shakes her head. No, there's no way that demon spirit who tortured the sacred master would help us. They say the Heart tribe is as they appear on the surface, so a demon spirit that looks as evil as that one would never help anyone. But only an esteemed one could send such a strike. Jiu Ryon and numerous other integration stage demon kings are all struck with fear as a certain possibility dawns on them. Then, could it be that the Heart tribe has given birth to two esteemed ones? That would indeed be terrifying. That day, at the True Dragon Alliance's serving command arc, an emergency meeting is held regarding the two newly born esteemed ones from the Heart tribe. Kiyeving. Within me, light Chinese letter and shadow Chinese letter cycle. As twilight cycles, the depleted energy within me returns to its original state. This is the divine power of time. Thud. After delivering a single strike at the level of an esteemed one, I take my stance again and launch another one. Kagagugugu. My single strike rises to the plane of soul in an instant, crossing countless space-time and sweeping away the vestiges in the Supreme Tiger territory, tens of millions of li away. Afterwards, I steady my stance once more. Kiyang. Twilight spins, and my spiritual power recovers. This is endless mountains beyond mountains. An ultimate technique that continually returns me to my original state, allowing for relentless attacks. The only difference is that, unlike the usual endless mountains beyond mountains, which is activated through my mental power, physical strength, and skill, this time it is combined with the divine power of time, expanding it to near infinity. Incredible! This is the synergy that occurs when combining the 6 divine powers of the integration stage with martial arts. Boing! Focusing all my concentration, I once again infuse my sword with immense force and swing it. Once more, my sword energy crosses the vast expanse of spacetime, reaching other minor races' territory and wiping out the vestiges. Drip, drip. Sweat drips down. Even though the consumption of spiritual power is almost none, using the divine power of time takes a considerable toll on my mental strength, causing my focus to gradually drain. This will be the last. One final time, I release sword energy that sweeps away the vestiges attacking the weak races, then pause to wipe away my sweat. Who? After briefly severing my connection with the wonderfully mysterious, innate heart canon, I speak to the Supreme Council, who stand nearby with their mouths agape. Do you understand now? We understand. You plan to send us out to various places across the bright cold realm, using us as terminals to more precisely launch single strikes and eradicate the vestiges. Precisely. They glance at each other briefly, then nod. Ryo HWA, the current vice leader of the Supreme Council, looks at Kim Young-hoon and speaks. Sir Young-hoon, please stay with the esteemed one and guard the Heart Tribe territory. We will take our disciples and followers and return shortly. Can you trust me? For the past 10 years, we've shared so many enlightenments together. There was nothing that would hinder the trust between us. I trust you, Sir Young-hoon. Besides, she looks at Kim Young-hoon with a meaningful smile. Since ancient times, I've had a knack for picking out good seeds. If a seed is on the verge of blossoming, it's only right to let it settle in and grow. I glance at Kim Young-hoon after hearing Ryo Hwa's words. He only offers a bitter smile in response. That's too high a compliment. I still have a long way to reach that stage. Haha, excessive humility is also a form of pride. Well then, Sir Young-hoon and Yu Yeon will remain here to protect the Heart Tribe territory. After making that decision, Ryo Hwa quickly receives my split soul and integrates it into their bodies. Then they swiftly gather the third stage Heart Tribe members and scatter across the bright cold realm. From now on, they will wander the realm, serving as my terminals. Through them, I will unleash single strikes to cleanse the vestiges of the interdimensional void. In doing so, they can wield my influence to warn the Heaven and Earth tribes not to encroach on the Heart Tribe territory. At the same time, they could gather information about Buk Hyung-hwa's curse. Good, let's keep it going like this. Just as I prepare to begin cleansing the vestiges of the interdimensional void through the scattered Heart Tribe members. Swoosh! I suddenly dodge the surprise attack from Yu Yeon, who strikes at me from the side. Yu Yeon of the shrimp shell race, with energy swirling in their fists, stares at me. What are you doing, senior brother? Senior sister. I sincerely apologize, senior sister. I saw the balance of yin and yang in your body and mistakenly thought you were a senior brother. It's fine. People often get confused. Even among the shrimp shell race, I was born with a deformity, so my body has always been overflowing with yin and yang energy. That's probably why the balance appears unusual. Yes. Before I even finish speaking, she rushes at me again, extending her fist. Quang! An enormous explosion erupts from both of her fists, sweeping through the area. I disperse the dust cloud and ask her, "It seems you wish to spar with me. We disciples of the heaven-collapsing esteemed one are quite sensitive to fighting will. We already noticed that the esteemed one desires to cross hands with us. Will you be all right?" I asked, looking at her. As you saw last time, senior brother Jeong Chang died by my hands. She lowers her head and speaks softly. I remember, senior brother Jeong Chang and I were particularly close. From the beginning, we both share the same manifestation name, River Bend, Chinese letter, Chinese letter. From a young age, I have been together with senior brother Jeong Chang, and thanks to him, I was able to enter under our master's teachings. My life, it had meaning only because I followed behind his back. What could that emotion be? It seems like a light pink hue. But at the same time, it's also a mixture of countless other emotions. My river bend is calm winds, resting waves, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter. To suppress the boiling yin and yang dual energy within me for the peaceful life of our shrimp shell race. It is the manifestation I obtained through a lifetime of effort. Behind her, countless determined emotions seem to manifest. Through the divine power of time, I catch glimpses of scenes from her past, reading her history bit by bit. A young girl born with a strange disease among the shrimp shell race. She met a boy from the small person race, and together they honed their skills, eventually manifesting their river bend and becoming members of the Heart Tribe. The two met Jang Ik and received training, overcoming countless trials until they reached their current positions. And now, in this moment, after Jeong Chang has died, she stands before me, seeking to follow what Jeong Chang saw in his final moments. That is all there is. Ch Warwick. She sheds the shrimp-like shell that covers her body. What is revealed is Yu Yeon, with an appearance similar to that of a girl of the small person race. Chi. The moment her skin is exposed to the sunlight, it begins to burn. Their skin is so delicate that they must wear shrimp shells, and they usually have to live within the river's waters, being tossed about here and there by the flow of the river, a race of utmost frailty. That is the shrimp shell race. Kagagagugugu. Here I come. What did senior brother Jeong Chang see at that moment? It's as if I can hear her heart. Now that another esteemed one has been born, there's nothing left I need to worry about. Within both her hands, Enormous power comparable to Jiong Chang's sudden wind. Sudden rain fills the sky. So all that's left is to give everything I have, to follow after senior brother. I raise my sword with a solemn expression. The next moment, words are unnecessary. With the ultimate technique that possesses the greatest destructive power among all the moves I have, I meet her ultimate technique head-on. Severing mountains. Calm winds, Chinese letter. Blinding white light surges between us, towards each other. In the next instant, the light clears and our positions are reversed. Thud. Ina. Yu Yon smiles gently. I've made it there, senior brother. She crumbles into dust, scattering with the wind. I look at the small scorch mark left at the tip of my colorless glass sword. The smudge soon dissipates into the air, carried away by the wind. I try to grasp the wind, but it only slips through my fingers. It was her trace. Watching her vanish so fleetingly and beautifully, I grasp once again at the nature of the moment. If time is the completion of moments coming together as one, then perhaps the wind symbolizes how all moments eventually fade away. Is this wind Chinese letter? Right after obtaining the divine power of time, I killed Yu Yon, the second oldest disciple of Jiang Ik. And then I repentantly enlightened myself on the nature of the wind. The wind is the drawing of one's wish. Not lust for the sake of obsession, but simply the act of drawing within the heart. Even if one day it weathers away, Chinese letter, and vanishes, the traces left by the wind will remain as imprints in the clouds, in the seas, and the great mountains. With the wind soar. Recalling the formula of the phenomena extinguishing mantra in the last second of her life, I finally come to understand the divine power of wind. This is the second divine power I have attained.